What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Shifting Gears. I am your host, Clutch. I'm joined by a plethora of awesomeness, as you can see above me. We have 6 guests tonight on Shifting Gears, getting pumped for MLG Orlando. If you haven't heard, if you haven't been checking the MLG website, this is some pretty big news. We are adding 2 streams. 2 streams! Fantastic. Can't wait. And with me tonight are 3 of the 4 community casters that'll be joining us at MLG Orlando, casting these incredible games that we were unable to show you on the live stream. Now, these guys have been known on the MLG community forums or on the MLG.tv website for their amazing VODs that they have produced from the floor matches that we were unable to stream during the live events with the replays. So I would first like to introduce these first 3 casters. The first one is Tumba. Glad of you to join the show, my friend. The next one is Nursky.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And with me tonight as well is Robin.
What's up, guys?
And 3 other guests. I have MLG Wiggin.
Hello.
MLG Omerta.
Hey guys, what's up?
And MLG Ryan.
Hey, everybody.
All right, gentlemen, tonight we're going to talk about some StarCraft 2. We're going to talk about some esports. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff that's been going down these last couple weeks and getting prepped for MLG Orlando. But first, to introduce you guys better in your own words, I want to learn a bit more about you. What's your history with video games, with esports in general? So, Tumba, starting with you, my friend, how did you first get into video games?
Yeah, man, well, I'm old schooler, so I had like a Commodore VIC-20 with a data cassette. That's how old school I was. And
what is that? Like,
yeah, okay, yeah,
Old school
there it
for me,
is.
man.
See? Yeah, so,
Wow.
yeah, a data cassette was when you had games on cassette before they were hard disks. So that was my first system, right? And then I got to like a Commodore 64, and then that's when like it exploded. Like, oh my God, 56K of memory. What am I going to do with it all? I'll never fill that up.
Oh my
and look at us
gosh.
now. So I started playing with like Dungeons and Dragons games, a lot of that stuff, and I always tried to have a good balance between having a good athletic life and an esports life as well. So then I became really sort of fascinated with consoles as I got into college. Didn't have enough time to really game as much, and getting out of college, returned sort of back into the whole esports thing. I've always been enamored with games, though. I spent a good portion of my life as a professional poker player as well. So more so though running events than actually playing in them. And StarCraft, when Brood War came out, I was more of a campaign guy actually. And then when SC2 hit the scene, man, that was it for me. It was really like somebody just said, "Buckle up, we're gonna hit the accelerator. We're hitting light speed, and it's gonna be a fun ride." So that's basically it.
Was that your first introduction into esports in general? Was StarCraft 2, or had you?
Yeah, in terms of seriousness, of course. Yeah, like, of course, I was aware of MLG, but I always sort of associated MLG with more first-person shooter type deals.
Halo.
And Halo, sure, exactly. Yeah. But getting back into the RTS genre, and just, I mean, even independent of esports in general, just as a competitive game, period, like across the gamut. I don't care if you put it against any other intellectual game you need to play. Chess, I hear it compared to a lot of poker, just amazing.
Most definitely. And as far as casting, what inspired you to become a caster?
There's a site called 2 things. All right. One, I watched the show match with it was Idra and the Gracket. It was Idra and Jinro, and it was a little thing they caught in the mid-afternoon, and I saw Greetorp and In Control, and it was my first real exposure to 2 guys that weren't doing it like totally fleshed out like Gom, like Tastosis. So what wasn't that they weren't good or anything; they were awesome. But I thought to myself, that was the first moment I said, well, I'm gonna get into this a little bit, and I ran into a website called ASCW, and it was Amateur StarCraft Weekly, just a bunch of guys getting together offering tournaments from Bronze League all the way to Masters. At the time, there was no Grandmasters. And so we did a little a tournament for, it was a well-played event, wellplayed.org community event, just from the forum guys jumped in. And from there, they invited me to cast, and I never looked back. It was casting all the time since.
It's awesome. Well, you have a great voice for it too. That's one thing that's pretty key as far as casters is articulating well or having a good resonating voice. I mean, I find that a lot with acting training or the theater is you have to know how to use your instrument. And people that have that talent, we have seen that in major league sports broadcasting, football or baseball for years and becoming internationally known because of their talent. So it's great to see a lot of the community involved with casting these games, and it's so great to see you gentlemen have a big following and a lot of your work out there for the world to see on the internet for the last over a year now, probably since StarCraft 2's been out. So it's very cool. Let's move on over to Nursky, my friend. Same questions. What got you into video games?
Pretty much growing up, I mean, we were pretty big into gaming pretty much from when me and my brother and even my sister to some extent, because I have two siblings, were really little. Started out with like Atari and ColecoVision and the old 8-bit Sega. First computer that we had that could actually play a video game was a Tandy 3000. I don't know how many people know what a Tandy 3000 is, but it's a piece of garbage. Just put it that way. It was like here's some pixels and blocks and there's something going on and you can kind of figure out. Like football on there was like you had X's, you had O's, and then you picked the play and it did it for you.
Wow.
But it was we were always big on games. I pretty much graduated through all of the different consoles growing up. I didn't really get into PC gaming early on, just because, frankly, like very, very early on with video gaming, a lot of the PC games just weren't actually as good as the console games as far as just fun factor went, because the PC market at the time was kind of a little bit behind, like how the consoles were progressing.
Well, with consoles, it was easier to share with your family members there because you all shared one TV, So.
Yeah, so we ended up doing a lot of that, playing a lot of Mario Kart and all that stuff as the games progressed. I think when the PC stuff really got big for me, personally, was probably getting around more towards when you had games like the first StarCraft coming out. Played a lot of Vanilla and Brood War. Never played it really competitively. Mostly did, like Toby was saying, with the playing through the campaign and stuff. But back then I was on like dial-up internet, so trying to play online was like a chore and a half. You'd be like tweaking your modem and stuff to try and like get that little extra bit out of it, just so you could maybe not lag out and have someone screaming and yelling at you on the other side, like get out. But so did that. Played some Warcraft 3 too. Played a lot of like games like SimCity. Played Counter-Strike. My brother got really big into Counter-Strike. He was actually the first one out of the two of us to get into the esports scene. Started playing Counter-Strike, the original Counter-Strike, competitively, and eventually graduated into Call of Duty and some of the other games. He doesn't do it anymore, but he kind of did it on and off. I actually got into multiplayer gaming a little bit with Warcraft 3 when it came out, but still didn't have greatest internet in the world back then. So the first game I actually played a lot as far as multiplayer games goes was actually EVE Online, an MMO game.
Oh, yeah.
And I really like the game because I love games that have a lot of thinking to them. I don't like games that are super dumbed down where everything's like, herp derp, I just, click buttons and I win, yay.
Yeah, they spoon feed you how to play it.
Like I don't like that. I like a game that has a lot of depth to it. So, I always like games like the Final Fantasy games on the consoles and stuff like that. Games that, like, they have a nice story and they have an arc to them, or they're a sandbox that you can play around with, and there's a lot of strategy and thinking that goes into them, which is why I think I gravitated towards the first StarCraft a lot, because there is a lot of strategy and stuff involved with a real-time strategy game. Played some of the Command & Conquer stuff and such forth. I personally first got into esports actually with online racing games. Ended up stumbling across a website where this old game by Papyrus called NASCAR Racing, they actually played it competitively online, and I got into it a lot. And I did that for at least 5 to 7 years. Even was on a competitive team. Ended up running a team for a while, had sponsors and stuff for the team.
Wow.
That were physically actually on the cars, which is also what got me into a lot of graphic design stuff, because I hated that the cars, like the paint jobs weren't updated and I thought they looked crappy. Mm-hmm. So I basically taught myself how to paint on the computer so I could repaint the skins for these cars so that they would look right, because it just bothered me if they didn't look right. So I'd redo the cars so that they looked right. It was kind of funny. But
Overachiever, man.
through that skill set, oh my god, when I go into something, I go all in. But through that skill set, actually kind of helped me because eventually StarCraft 2 came around, and I got out of the whole online racing scene, stopped doing that in their pro scene, so to speak, because I really thought StarCraft 2 was going to be the next really big game to come out. I thought it was going to be awesome, and I love strategy games because it's a battle of wits, really. You know, yeah, there's some Twitch stuff involved, but it's a thinking man's game too. You know, it's like chess on steroids. So switched to StarCraft 2 when it came out. Tried like heck to get a beta key, but never could find anybody that I knew with one. So
if you only knew me, if you only knew me.
I know, if only. But now I'm like trying to get a Diablo 3 beta key, and I still can't find anybody. It's like a never-ending ordeal.
I wish I could help you there, but sorry.
Yeah, it's like it's roll of dice. But no, once it came out to a release, though, I started playing it. At first, I was even considering trying to play it professionally because I had done that with online racing. So I'm like, well, if I practice like I did with that, maybe I could pick it up. But one thing I had done back when I was doing online racing is I like doing some of the entertainment end of stuff, like making videos and stuff, using all those skill sets I learned from when I used to repaint the cars, only had gotten a lot better at it to, you know, put together videos, you know, stuff like that. And then when I saw kind of how big through the beta, because I was watching the casting scene in beta, how big that was getting, I was like, you know what? I really like doing some of the entertainment stuff. I'll try some of that out myself. Yeah. And really, it was kind of just a matter of that progressed for me a lot quicker than the playing end did. So I ended up really focusing on the casting and stuff and kind of backed off on the playing a little bit over time. And, you know, then I wind up here now.
Wow, man. It's cool to see that the passion of that racing game niche kind of brought those talents out, you know, and that kind of happens a lot is you really get into something and then you see on the horizon something bigger is going to come out and you're like, hey, I've developed all these talents working on this. I could use it towards that. And that's how you get your name out there, and that's how you know,
oh yeah, you
progress either professionally or even in a hobby, you know. So that's awesome, man.
Yep.
Robin, video games, consoles, PCs, how'd you get into them?
You know, you guys make me feel like a baby caterpillar over here. Like I've Atari 1600s. I think you said a Candy 8000, something like that.
Sorry, you make us feel old.
Yeah, like these consoles. My first console was the N64, Super Smash Brothers. Me and my friends in the trailer park would get together all day. I was king of the trailer park, dominated all those kids all day, every day, all day long. And eventually, through a channel, the USA channel, MLG, actually had casting of Halo on there, Halo 2 for a while. I think it was for like a year or two. And that's where I got my first like look into competitive gaming, actually. I saw Chris Puckett casting MLG, and it was amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to these tournaments. And it took me a couple of years. I think 07 was when I first started playing competitively, and I actually didn't start playing until Halo 3. And I actually went to a couple tournaments, got destroyed, loses round 3, baby. Get knocked out, lose round 1, get a bye, and then you're lose round 3. So it was fun. I got pretty good at that. And then I started watching StarCraft because you guys started talking about it on the website, saying how amazing it was going to be, saying you were going to pick it up. And I started watching Husky StarCraft, and that's where I watched commentating. I was like, yeah, this guy's really fun. He's really good. He talks really fast. I think I can do that. So eventually, I had a computer that couldn't even run StarCraft. It was horrible. Couldn't get past tier 1 units. Get a layer, my game would lag everywhere, and I'd have to lose. So I dropped some money into a computer, decided I wanted to cast, and just went from there. I actually got a lot of my support from the MLG community. I went to the forums like, hey guys, I'm new to this. I'm interested. If you guys want to help me out, let's do it. And a guy named Coach Oz, actually, I don't know if you guys know him, but he's on the forums all the time. He's like, hey man, I got a tournament. I need a cast. Are you down? And from there, it just kind of grew. Got really lucky. It's been a great 8 months because I'm still new to this, but that's where I came from. Really, that's it.
That's awesome. I see you guys online sometimes with Coach House. He goes to the University of Utah, which was a college I went to for a semester. So we had that in common. He was just like, "Oh yeah, go Utes!" So that's pretty cool. But what's great about the MLG forums is you guys host those tournaments. How long has that been going on?
Well, I got into it of March this year. I believe there's been a couple before that, but they weren't casted or anything. Barely anyone knew about it. There was about 10, 12 people in there. And just through repetition, inviting as many people as we could, we would jump on Team Liquid, say, hey guys, you want to come out and play in an awesome tournament? It's been going on for about 6, 7 months now. We stopped lately because a couple of guys got pretty sick. Yeah. But It's just being ran through a community, which is amazing. I think the best way to run esports, get it bigger, is to have guys that just have passion for the game, popping in and out, trying to run their own tournaments, getting whatever sponsors they can, throwing their own money into it for people to come out and play. Like, there's some amazing guys over at MLG, the forums anyways, that just absolutely love the game, and that's why it's growing over there.
Thank you, man. I mean, people in the forums, involved in the community, and even staff of MLG, they notice that passion, and they recognize that that kind of power within the community is what really can grow esports. It's not just from this tower that all of the staffers work at, and they're like, oh, here you go, and they feed down content to the people. It's like, no, it's a conversation back and forth.
It really is.
And that's what really helps it grow. So, all right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what a live event is all about, what to expect, and really get into some theory craft of the StarCraft 2 situation. So we will be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to Shifting Gears. So we have some serious stuff to talk about. Ryan Moore, you are the PC tournament director for MLG. You've been staffing this for a while, my friend. What's it like? What do these guys have to expect for casting a tournament such as this?
Well, yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I got into it way back when Halo 1 was around. I was a Halo 1 professional. And after that, kind of transitioned into working with MLG as a referee and moved my way up as a PC tournament director. I've had the opportunity to see the PC circuit grow. Started off with World of Warcraft, and there was maybe somewhere between 8 and 15 teams show up. Now we pretty much sell out. There's 264 plus pro bracket StarCraft players, and it's just amazing. So as far as games are concerned, casting the games, we're going to have an amazing open bracket in Orlando. I think 12 Koreans are coming out, if I'm correct. Something like that.
Wow, top 12.
Outside of
GG. I quit. Like, there's no point even. It's so good.
Yeah.
So true, though.
So, yeah, watching those matches will be really cool. It's always interesting to see how the GSL stars do, from coming over to the GSL format and then coming over and playing MLG. GSL, they have weeks or however long to prepare for each match, and MLG is kind of like a marathon. Like you're playing one opponent after the next, and you don't necessarily have time to prepare for them. You might not know who you're playing against or their playing style. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be some amazing games in Orlando, to be sure.
Most definitely. And the marathon is such a great way to put it, and it's even a marathon for the refs. It's a marathon for the fans. I mean, trying to find seats sometimes is a journey
For
that's
the
so
StarCraft
intense.
2 coverage team, too.
Yeah, if you've ever been to an MLG, you can just feel the intensity in the air. Everyone works so hard, but there's just so much. It really is like running a marathon. You can just feel it. It's crazy. It's
And that
awesome.
was just to find a chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But with the red and blue streams, we can only show so much of what happens at the tournaments, at least for StarCraft 2. We have the other streams for Halo and Black Ops. But sometimes, people will troll like, oh, why did the red stream go off for an hour and you duplicated blue? Well, it's because the people on the red stream need to eat. We've been...
It's so hard to, honestly talk for 8 hours straight, breaks are necessary. I mean, you get smoke breaks at work. Why can't we have a food break, you know?
Yeah. Well, and the reason that we had to revamp this schedule as well is to make sure that those breaks coincide with what's going on the main stage, what's going on in the featured stages, and also when we take those breaks, people can tune into the beta streams as well. But it's really important, you know, for the whole staff and for the players to be at the top of their game, because these weekends do take a lot out of you, and you have to have a proper schedule and keep that proper pace. You know, running a marathon, you don't sprint all the way through it. You'll die. You won't make it. You have to set a certain pace and stick to that pace. So as far as, you know, the matches that go on the ground, when I say the ground or the player pit or the floor, that's the section of the tournament where most of the PCs are and where a lot of the open bracket happens. Ryan, you're down there in the thick of it, and sometimes it gets kind of crazy and crowded, am I right, as far as the people that are there?
Yeah, especially on Friday and Saturday when everybody's still in the tournament. You know, every single station that we have set up is being used, and then we have people ready and waiting to set up right behind them as soon as their match finishes to make sure, you know, we're staying on schedule. So, you know, we have hundreds of people within this little area where we're conducting the tournament, so it can definitely get really crowded at times, especially at the beginning of the tournament.
Now, have any of you casters attended an MLG or any event for gaming, for professional gaming?
Robin,
I did
you
for
have-
Halo. Yeah, I went to
Robin.
2 for Halo. Just it was an amazing experience. It was really, really fun. Getting knocked out on Saturday kind of sucks, but like after a couple hours of moping and being upset, you actually get to enjoy what MLG has there. Besides from the actual games, which in itself is amazing, fun to watch, you have so many opportunities to walk around and see what the sponsors have. You have a lot of booths around, and then of course you get to interact with friends that you've known on live forever, or known on the internet you've never actually gotten to meet with. You get to shake their hands, and that's a good, special experience in itself.
Yeah, Nursky, will this be your first MLG attendance?
Yeah, this will be the first time I've gone to an MLG. I've gotten plenty of chances to meet some of the people that I've done some of the gaming with and such forth, but actually with all the gaming I've done, especially when I was doing all that online racing stuff, there really wasn't a lot of LAN type events. Everything was pretty much online, so I haven't actually been to a gaming event, so to speak, but definitely going to be looking forward to heading to this MLG. I think it's going to be a great experience overall.
Yeah, for sure. Tumba?
Yeah, man, first one. Excited. I mean, I had a LAN at my buddy Simpatico's house. It was like a 4-person LAN round of 32. 4 people showed up, and that was pretty intense. That was pretty intense. So that's all. That's yeah, first one, man, and I was super excited about it. But I think like what Robin was saying though is kind of cool because when you go there, you meet people that all have the same interests, right? Because everybody's into StarCraft. So whether you know them or not, like ton of friends are going to be made, and you know it's going to be a good time by all.
Exactly. Wiggin, you're a referee for MLG. I mean, you and I have been friends for a while, and just seeing the fanboy stars in his eyes when he like got to meet Boxer for the first time.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, you're surrounded by these pro players, but you got to keep it cool. You got to keep it professional.
I got a picture with Boxer, MMA, MVP, and Milkus, and it's like literally the only time I've been starstruck in my life, and the flash didn't go off, so it's like so dark you can't actually tell. No! And I just was like nervous to ask to retake it.
Keep me all day.
Yeah.
Me all day. That's good stuff.
But, man, it's great. Yeah, if anyone out there gets a chance to go, a lot of cool things can happen, man. Maybe you know, even if you don't think you're gonna win everything, just compete. Like the first time I went was in Columbus, and I competed and got totally destroyed by Show. But
Yeah,
ended up
got to get destroyed by.
Yeah, nothing wrong with
No
that.
kidding.
Yeah, it was great. Wiggin, myself, and another friend of ours went down to Raleigh, North Carolina, for the first StarCraft 2 tournament on the MLG Pro Circuit, and I would see Wiggin sit down and play, and I would put my thumbs up like this after the match, and he would shake his head like, "That's okay, man. You're still in it. You're still in it.
You got this.
Yeah,
I did great in warm-ups. All right, I did fantastic in warm-ups. The actual tournament, not so much.
Yeah. But it was such a blast to be there, man. And after that, I knew I wanted to be involved in this. This was so much fun.
Absolutely.
Galen, you write on
Yes.
for MLG about StarCraft 2.
I do.
The evolution of seeing the players, of bringing in GSL, how fun has it been to write about these different events?
Well, I mean, like you guys, my first event was Raleigh, and I actually came out as a volunteer. I had been doing some Halo content for the website before that, and I was really excited about StarCraft 2, so I came out as a volunteer and worked the first event, and I was lucky enough to have them invite me back, and just I remember having a conversation with some of the people I work with backstage, some of the content guys, telling them that I thought StarCraft 2 was going to be the future of this league, that was going to take it to a global scale. And I definitely think we're seeing that happen now. And just watching how the crowds have grown, how the production quality has gotten better, just like everything MLG is doing, I'm such a huge fan of, and I'm really actually just proud to be a part of it.
Oh, most definitely. Well, now, we've seen an evolution within the MLG framework of the company. And with the introduction of the silver and gold membership, it allows the players to have, access to merchandise, to the show floor a half hour early, and also to these 2 streams that we're going to have.
You can't forget the awesome badge around your name, too.
Yeah.
I got a gold one. It's
on
awesome.
the floor.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
Status, buddy.
You don't even...
Yeah.
I
It's
got
just
a
like mod
gold.
status.
I got a gold membership, and when I post in the forums, I'm like, look at that. Look at that. That's
Balls.
Shining.
Shining.
But
Swag.
when it comes to creating content, or when it comes to enjoying something you're passionate about, I have no problem throwing a couple dollars into it. And I believe that the amount of cool stuff that MLG has in store for MLG Orlando, especially with these streams, is totally worth the silver or gold membership. And when it comes down to these kind of formats with HD video, with the demand of all the staffers being there, we can't do this for free. As far as like, these are not all volunteers. This bit rate is not all like charity work. These are people's careers,
Yeah.
But to grow esports is you have to have the best people, and the best people have to be compensated. So when I hear people troll about, oh, I'm not going to throw any money, hey, I get this for free, it's like, all right, dude, if you want to do that, fine. Good on you. That's fine. You can do that. But if you are passionate about something, and if you want something to be successful, you invest a little bit into it, and then you get something back. So that's how I feel about the silver and gold memberships. And once again, I'll mention these beta streams. Super excited about, and I believe we have some of the best casters that we can find to make these happen. So, saying that, what is missed on these streams or these games? And you 3 casters have been part of the Community Caster program with MLG for the last 2 events. Do any of you have a favorite game that you've casted so far?
Oh, I got an easy one.
All right.
An easy one. It's the same as Wiggin. I had Boxer versus Chef all day long, right? Because Chef just got back from Korea. Boxer is, the man is esports. Like, seeing the Boxer Wings episodes got me. It tugged at my heartstrings because he is so dedicated to esports in general. And having him in an MLG was amazing. And that match, going to the ace match, and Chef actually taking a game off Boxer, and interviewed beforehand saying that he doesn't know if he could beat him. Like, just to be that he wouldn't even want to beat him because of who he is, his status. Awesome. That was by far my favorite community cast. Hands down easy.
Right on.
Mine.
Or Robin, go ahead.
Mine was Trimaster versus Idra. It was a huge, huge
That was great.
matchup. Idra being my favorite player. I just love casting him in general, period. I'm Zerg, so he's a Zerg god. Love him. And then me taken down by somebody that's considered a Cinderella story, Trimaster, was something that I had to cast. And it was actually an amazing series. I actually got the chance to cast with Tumba over there. It was actually our first cast together, I think, and it was a great series.
Yeah.
Exciting series. And then, of course, Idra lost his F4 key to it, so again...
That's so true.
That was such a great story.
Oh my
God.
gosh.
Stuff on Reddit about that.
So glad to cast a series that got Trimaster a little ring. So
Yeah, and that is such an incredible story on paper, and it's those kind of matches that we wanted to try to bring live. Nursky?
There's actually probably 2 of them that I think I enjoyed the most. I got to cast Rhett versus Puma, which was just an absolutely awesome game. I mean, you're talking about 2 of some of the best players in the world. Rhett and Puma, both very super sound mechanical players, so I was just absolutely excited to cast that. On top of that, it was a really close back-and-forth series. And then another series that I actually kind of liked, too, just because he's absolutely out of his mind with some of his play strategies was a game got to cast a series between Kilokaki and Machine. And actually one of those games ended up on the MLG Top 10 from Anaheim because Kilokaki just does this absolutely insane stuff in the game. He did like this really crazy Phoenix play in this game against Machine where he just lifted up like all of Machine's Hydras, his Infestors, and everything, and just absolutely obliterated him with just mass Phoenix, and it was insane.
Yeah.
So it's definitely up there as one of my favorite games, but definitely had to love Rhett versus Puma just because Rhett especially one of my favorite players in the game, I think, just because the guy is just so ridiculously mechanically sound. He's probably, with the sake of actually overhyping him, he's probably one of the most mechanically sound Zergs in the entire game. And sometimes just strategy and circumstances fails him.
He should learn to make lings sometimes, though.
Yeah. I mean,
He's been doing that a lot lately.
They're a pretty good unit. So,
Can I say like one name for something that was missed a lot? But I mean, eventually it got on the stream. But just the name White Raw, like his run through the open bracket was incredible. There were so many cool stories. There was the
10 matches in a row that he had to do.
yeah.
Yeah, and then there was
It
a
was
series
insane.
against Gimmicks where the kid gave up his his lead to make it a fair game. And there was another series, the Muslim versus White Raw, that was just incredible. I got to ref that one. I mean, that's why we got you guys, so we don't have that stuff get missed.
Yeah. I'm really excited because like what you guys are saying, we always see the end of the stories, but we never get to see the beginning and the mid, and now we can actually bring it. It's awesome. It really is.
Well, I believe the
Yeah,
VOD system is fantastic that we have so far, but yeah, it's it's a week or 2 weeks after it's all happened, and people have heard it on Reddit, so they know the outcome already for a lot of these matches. But still, it's great to see. It's great to see these replays casted by you gentlemen and the other casters that we have, so that the public can see what had happened within those matches and maybe note down some strategy or see what didn't work, or Rafflecopter off of knowing what had happened when TriMaster beats Idra. I mean, watching those matches is very interesting. But yeah, once again, man, that's why we wanted to get these streams live out to the public, to our members, to show that, hey, there's more going on besides the main stage and the feature stage, that we know you hear from Reddit or Team Liquid the day after or that night. We want to try to get to them live. Well, right now, gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial. We come back. We're going to talk about some StarCraft 2 1.4 patch notes. Oh, my bunkers. My bunkers. All right, we will be right back.
Yeah, no, that one guy. One guy can ruin everything.
There's always one guy that ruins it.
Welcome back to Shifting Gears. It's time to get down and dirty, man. My Terran. I don't know. I may be just a whiner, but the extra 5 seconds
It's
on my
so
bear.
sorry
It's
It's unconscionable. How could they do
Yeah.
that to Terran?
How could they get you into 8 minutes into the
let's
game?
look at the last couple: Code A, TVT, Code S, TVT, MLG, TVT. I'm just saying.
Yeah, but my
The list
build
goes
order
on.
isn't nearly as pretty now. Like, do I need SC? Do I
It's
do I
all
keep
about the
splitting
aesthetics. It's all about the aesthetics.
Stylist,
You know what Clutch's problem is? He can't make like 4 Blue Flame Hellions and win a game, and he's just crushed by it.
I know,
Rob
man.
Clutch
The
is-
5. It's only +5 to light with Blue Flame. It just means I have to make 2 more. That's
Here's a
okay.
new order for you. Do a Reaper expand. Believe it or not, with that 5 racks or that 5 seconds, the Reaper and everything kind of lines up with each other. The timing's
There you
perfect.
go. You
Ah.
guys got enough
Yo.
use to
Blue
say new build.
Flame.
I've got a revolutionary idea for him. I think he should build some Marines and bunkers and maybe some medevacs and then kill his opponent.
Yeah. What I typically do is
Can work.
I kind of put my face on the keyboard and roll around, and then I make sure I hit A and T.
T. You gotta
That's about
get
it.
the T.
Yeah.
Go for the nose right on the
Don't
T.
Yeah,
forget
A
the
and T.
TP.
I got that.
Aaron.
Got that worked out really well. But the patch is live. This patch came out between the last MLG and this MLG, but there's been plenty of other tournaments we've seen these players adapt to it, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. Warp Prism.
Pretty good unit.
Viable?
Warp Prism is great.
It's
And
already starting to get really strong, especially with Wireless Blade as of late, and just adding the buff to it, of course, makes other Protoss players say, hey, I'm going to use this unit now, and it's actually a really strong unit. It's faster than a Medevac, of course, with that upgrade, and it's really a really good harassing tool. Protoss lately, for the last few months, just hasn't been heavy on harassment, and I think Warp Prism finally opened that up, and I love seeing it as a caster.
One thing I've noticed about that shield buff specifically is they're like Banshees now. Like, they always get away with like 10 freaking health.
So true.
yeah.
Go ahead, Galen.
They're terrible to deal with.
I feel like the Warp Prism change wasn't necessarily because the Warp Prism was too weak. It was just kind of Blizzard saying, hey, you guys should probably be using this unit a little bit more. And one of my favorite Protoss, Liquid Hero, has been using Warp Prisms like forever. And watching his PvZ especially, he just sends Warp Prisms around late game, because that's when the Warp Prism really gets strong, is when you can warp in, 20 plus supply into somebody's base when you've got, 10 or 12 gateways running. That's when the Warp Prism gets really strong. So I think Blizzard's just trying to tell Protoss, remember this unit. It is actually really good.
Yeah, having arbiters that don't cost gas is kind of nice.
Hey,
Well,
there's no
yeah.
cloak, man. Come on. They don't cloak.
I feel like
No,
it's,
but you do have the mothership for that. You got your hero unit, so you can,
I
you can like
Oh.
Every next
run it
match they're
up
gonna let it level up.
Warcraft 3 style with your hero ship.
yeah.
nasty.
Yeah.
But the one thing about Warp Prism, I think it raises the skill cap, and I've been talking to some of the pros about this. It raises the skill cap of Protoss. If you see guys like Neck Sickness over on Korea doing these immortal juggles, just dropping immortals out, picking one up, dropping one down. Stalkers against Banshee, where one will get damaged, so he'll pick one up, drop one down. So it sort of gives more of, like I said, raises that skill cap so it can showcase more of what these great players can do. It's another viable option. And a lot like Galen said, too, I think it's one of those things where they had to overbuff it simply because they had to get players using it because it was a key component to Protoss that was just overlooked.
Well, at the same time, too, I think a big element of the Warp Prism was that it uses robotics production time. So they want to make every Warp Prism as worthwhile as possible. So giving it a little, more hit points. That way, if you lose a Warp, or it's harder to lose that Warp Prism, you need the robotics to pump out Immortals and Colossus, those power units that you need to actually win the game.
Nursky, go ahead. You had something
Yeah,
to say?
but what I was
sorry.
going to say is I think, honestly, there was a couple of guys who were messing around with the Warp Prism pre-buff, guys like Kiwakaki and stuff would do kind of cutesy things with it, but obviously the health of it was a huge issue because a single queen or two Marines could take it out before it really did anything. But now with this huge buff that it got to its shields, you just every processor sounds like, wow, I can fly this thing into a missile turret now, drop off a bunch of units, and leave, and it's actually still alive, and it's amazing for them because it's just opened so many harassment options up to the Protoss players that they really didn't have because Phoenix were kind of a cutesy harass unit that really could hurt you. As far as your army strength went, and Warp Prism's just this natural thing that a lot of Protoss players are going to get to on their way to Colossus or Mortals anyways. So it's really just taking a little bit of time away from that. Now they have this awesome harass unit for mid and late game that just is absolutely outstanding. But one definitely big thing for me, 1.4 though, that I've personally been enjoying a lot, just from a casting standpoint, because I actually play Zerg, is watching PvP now is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
They
So much
changed
better.
the ramp.
Oh,
That
it
was
is.
so
Expansions.
huge for just opening up that matchup. And now
Nursk.
you basically have Tall Dareem left as the 4-gate map, and now everything else is just totally wide open.
Because of the
The ramp vision change.
The ramp vision.
yeah, well,
And not
So
being able
there's
to
no
warp
more-
on
You
basically-
can no longer set a pylon down at the base of a player's ramp, move a zealot an inch up the ramp, and then be able to see far enough up that you can warp in over a force field. So now they can drop one force field on the bottom of the ramp, and you absolutely positively 100% cannot get vision in order to warp up past the force field, which absolutely has killed the 4-gate, which is so awesome.
yeah,
for
they
the-
reduced the vision by 1, correct? I mean, coming up the ramp. it
Yeah.
was- yeah.
But it was enough.
That's enough.
Oh,
No,
well,
that was, yeah.
Honestly,
look
I
at-
think... Oh, sorry, go
Sorry,
ahead.
go ahead, Galen.
Okay. No, I think honestly the bigger change, though, is not being able to actually warp onto ramps anymore. Because you could warp on top of a force field on somebody's ramp and just get zealots up there, which is just kind of ridiculous. It kind of negated any early game advantage you can get defending wise from having sentries. So yeah, I'm excited. PvP. I don't know if any of you guys saw that series between Genius and Sage in the GSL where they both opened Speed, War Prism, Immortal drops. It was just so exciting for me to watch as a Protoss player, seeing how PvP is going to start to evolve with this 4-gate nerf they put in.
Yeah.
There's been a ton of strategy that's been changing in the Protoss matchup. I mean, you've got people doing like basically a 1-1-1 build where they go like they go for like a gateway, a robo, and a Stargate, and they go like kind of like Sentry and more X, and it's like this really crazy kind of combination. You got people going like 2-gate Stargate, you got people going like 3-gate Blink, and then they're taking bases like all over the map like a Zerg player would. And you got people still doing some more straight up stuff where they're like maybe just going 3-gate robo and then, trying to push whatever, and lots of expansions and stuff, which is just awesome.
Yeah, it used to be the first person to expand in the matchup lost. Like, that was the whole thing, was if you took an expansion, you were behind. Now, I was casting some games on EU of Axlav. I think it was Axlav versus Night End. Got to 4 bases each. Motherships came out in that piece. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is amazing. I had to rewatch the entire replay because it blew my mind. I was like, this is where PvP is going. Blizzard, thumbs up. You nailed it. You fixed it. It's good. There's going to be a good metagame now, so it's super exciting.
I just got to fix early game ZVZ.
Raise his edge, man. One Baneling.
One Baneling Mike was one of the most exciting games in the game.
It's so easy to see a ZVZ early.
Yeah,
Well,
true.
I think a lot of the audience is going to enjoy not seeing TVT Fests, hopefully in the top, 8. But we'll see. It depends on the Korean. I mean, it depends on the players.
Yeah,
The Korean players.
those Korean Terrans, they're terrible. I don't know.
Hey, man, MC is hungry for a Code S spot. That's all I got to say.
Yes.
Yeah, he's going through
We'll
open
see.
bracket too at Orlando, right?
Isn't he in B now?
Yeah,
Oh, it's full play. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
It doesn't matter where he is. He's going straight to the finals. I'm not saying I'm a fanboy or biased at all. I've done calculations to support this.
just watching MC between the matches is fun. Right after a match. I mean,
Good point.
It's
He knows how to entertain, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I became a fan, maybe not exactly of his game mechanics, but of his being a human mechanics.
His body mechanics.
Yeah, he's like the only Korean who's actually alive.
Yeah, exactly.
he's
Minus
got
the one who
nerves.
cries all the time. I forgot who that was. Marine King.
MKP.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
Marine
He's
King
gonna be there
cries
too.
all the time.
He's gonna be there too.
Yellow.
He's
Every time he
so
loses.
overwhelmed. Well, yeah, because he's just overwhelmed. He tries so hard, and he's just one of those people like he takes it really hard.
Well, you'll
Warcraft
see.
detail.
I mean, you'll see the Koreans in the morning. I mean, Wiggin and Ryan are there prepping for the matches. And one thing that's key too is making sure their drivers work. That's a lot of our technical staff has to do with their hardware, is making sure they have their drivers good to go. But as far as the Korean players, like, they're totally focused. I mean, it's not just them cool matching outfits; they're there to win. So it's not like a cool party fest or whatnot. They're focused. And I had the pleasure of actually working with the Koreans for the first GSL partnership that we had when they came, and just getting to meet them. And even though I had to use Milkus as a translator, and also Daniel, who was with the We Made Fox team, which unfortunately is broken up with Moon, and just understanding their customs. We went out to eat, and even the giant plates of food that we had ordered. Mr. Che was so funny. He looks down at his plate and he's just like, "This is for Michael Jordan. I am Korean. I cannot eat all this." It's really exciting, and I know that kind of the stigma of MLG right now is, oh, well, since we've invited the Korean players, that they've been just going to town with the foreign players or with the North American and European players. Dude, I think it's time for the North American and European players to step it up. I don't think the Koreans are unbeatable. It's just they are so focused and dedicated to what they're doing, and they have this foundation of time and teams and resources built upon Brood War that they're able to play 8 hours straight or be at these team houses.
Yeah, but that's just it, Clutch. That's the irony. You just mentioned it right there. It's their foundation. And the ironic part is, in the United States, we have this ability and this funding to get team houses now. It's the work ethic that, in my opinion, isn't there, that the Koreans do have. And that's never going to change. So you either have that drive or you don't. We've been saying step up to EU and NA now for months. I mean, we finally saw EG get a team house. Now, that's no ticket right to the top. It takes time. But you hit the nail on the head right there, my man. That's it. I find it ironic, though, that it seems to be players in NA and EU almost are financially more stable. You see Korean teams reaching out to foreign teams for financial assistance making all these deals, right? So, I mean, it's really, you have a cush situation in my mind in NA and EU, and it's just taking advantage of that.
Well,
Hopefully MLG fosters that competitive drive.
When you're looking at the Koreans too, one thing you have to consider is the mentality that they go into with a lot of these games. Like obviously there's still some pressure on them, and some of them do underperform during live tournament type of situations. But if you actually look at how most of the Korean players play, they will basically play a game until they are totally 100% dead. They will look for every single avenue they can to come back and stuff. And I have a feeling that just mentality-wise even, that the Korean players are a little bit ahead of the North American and EU players because they're very focused and super into their game. Like, they zone out everything else, and they are into their game. Where with the NA and EU players, you tend to see a little more variation where they're a little more likely to tilt, a little more likely to just all of a sudden cheese. And, I'm not just talking about guys who go totally off the rocker like an Idra or somebody who goes complete tilt. I'm saying just your average player will tend to start to tilt a little bit when they start to lose games. Like, I think there's a lot more emotion that a lot of the NA and the EU players bring into the game, which I think is good from the entertainment point of view, but I think it does hurt them sometimes performance-wise because they let those emotions get the better of them, I think, a lot more than the Korean players do, who are more like, the robot man, and they're just hacking away at their keyboard. Now the practice stuff does matter too. I definitely agree with that. But I do think there's definitely some really good players out there who are practicing enough that they should be able to compete.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great motivation for that goal. I mean, it's a sportsmanship game. Obviously, we're not playing to defeat a country or a nation. It's more of kind of...
No, we are.
Well, according to Nursky, we are. But
the next person to win the MLG gets to take over the other guy's country. You didn't know that?
That was in the notes not to reveal, Nursky. Dang it. Honestly, I want to see Slasher bald. That's really what I want to see.
He deserves it.
Yeah, man.
Technically, he should be bald already.
Yeah.
Idra, I am gung-ho, whatever.
Yeah, China Team won, man. So
I mean, JYP was there. He's no slouch. Puma was there. He doesn't suck. Who else was there? Rain, I think, was there, and one other guy. So there was like 4 Koreans in that tournament. I guess they consider Jinro a Korean, but whatever. But, I mean, he's Swedish. He just lives in Korea right now. But nonetheless, there were still 3 Koreans there, and Idra still definitely won that tournament. And technically, he already lost that bet. And that's been discussed. Supposedly he's going to do it, but who knows?
yeah, we'll find out. Ryan, you see these players come in the morning. Have you noticed, can you just feel that vibe with the Korean or foreign players compared to the rest when they walk in? To me, it seems like they're always super focused and they want to get their practice matches.
Yeah, when they walk in, they're pretty much all business. They come in, and one of the first things that they want to know is where's a computer that they can play at. Mm-hmm. And so they sit down and they start either laddering or playing against somebody else in the room. And, from the moment they get to the venue, they want to practice. And even while the tournament is going on, a lot of North American players they want to watch their friends, so they're sitting in the crowd and watching the games being played and stuff like that, and they want to see the cool matches. Well, at the same time, a lot of Korean players are back in the pro lounge practicing, going over strats instead of watching these matches going on live. So there's definitely a very serious quality about them that they're there to win, for sure.
Yeah, and they're representing their team. They're representing all the hard work that they've done. They're representing GSL. So to them it's very important, but it's important to all the players. And it's a really cool drama to see. Will a foreigner win an MLG tournament? So,
so definitely some guys that can challenge this time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, it's definitely possible. I mean, there's no way that you can say that the Koreans are going to win 100%, bar none, hands down. They're definitely extremely strong players, but they're beatable. I mean, if you're just looking at one of the other tournaments going on right now, you got a guy like Boxer who's 0-3 in his group. He got knocked off by everybody. Mm-hmm. So obviously they're plenty beatable, and Boxer's one of the best ones. I mean, he finished top 4 at the last MLG. I mean, you can't say he's a bad player, and he's 0-3 in a group play right now. I mean, so they're definitely beatable.
Yeah. And if you watch the way...
I think they're going to finish out through Providence winning, though. I mean, I'm just going to be a realist here and say
Yeah, I
there's
feel
not
like
going to
till
be a
next year.
No way.
Anything too crazy.
But if you watch the way Idra played at IEM, man, like that was a really, really impressive performance. I mean, Puma's a really good Korean Terran, and Idra had his way with him and went 3-0 in some pretty long games too. So, I mean, I think there's definitely a lot of potential there, and especially the way players like Idra have been training like on a more strict regimen and with better practice partners. I think we're going to start seeing a lot more foreign players really start to compete here soon.
Yeah, that's another key thing too. Is they had mentioned that they needed to get over to Korea to have that practice partnership on that ladder system. So it's important, you know, to practice with the best. That's how you're able to compete in that kind of scenario. And the people that continually play on the North American ladder against each other leaves out that necessary practice, that necessary training.
Well, yeah. What about Huck? Like Huck's leaving the OGS house now, right? Because he's with EG.
Yeah.
So he's losing those practice partners, right? So now.
Well, no. He said he didn't really practice with them anyways in the first place.
Yeah, but
he
I mean,
was mostly practicing with the other TL guys.
I think that
So
if you look at, there's definitely some influence from MC, 100% in Huck's style of play. I mean, he was. If you look at DreamHack, and you look at some of the stuff.
No.
He says no, but I mean, come on. Those two
I'm gonna take
were
his
very
word
close.
for it. I don't know.
We'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah. Well,
Time will tell.
the EG house in Korea,
Yep.
I think there's a smart investment for that team as well to understand, like, hey, we need to have people
Really smart
over there.
investment.
So,
What was that, Robin?
Oh, so it's a really smart investment. They can even sell to even teams here in the United States or EU, like, hey, you want a spot in our house? There's money for them, and budget-wise, and also just great for training. And Korean ladder, apparently, Grandmaster through Masters is literally just the hardest thing in the world to win and get ladder points off of. So
It's hard to get in the Masters, you know, even for
Yeah.
a really good player like
Competent
on
players,
the NA
yeah.
server. To try and get into Masters, even on the Korean ladder, is actually extremely difficult because StarCraft is such a huge, like, just community aspect of Korean culture. I mean, it's a part of their culture to play StarCraft, which just means there's so many really talented people playing StarCraft at a pretty high level, you know. I mean, a lot of people, like, you know, they'll try and argue that their server is just as good as Korea, but the fact of the matter is nobody's server is as good as Korea because it's not ingrained into the North American or European culture like it is the Korean culture. And that does help them. I mean, you can't deny that the fact that they have so many people who are playing to basically try and get into a team house where basically they get paid food in a house. And that's it. You know, they don't get a salary or anything like that. They get food, they get a house, and a chance to maybe make it into the GSL and then actually make money. You know, I mean, like, even really good players like a Salawera doesn't get paid a dime for being the coach for Slayers S. He gets food and shelter. You know, and that's basically what all the Koreans do, but they're happy to do that to play StarCraft because it's, like, in their DNA to play StarCraft. And that really does help them, and it's good to be around that culture if you can.
I think it's necessary. It's necessary if you want to win to go to Korea. You have to experience that, in my opinion, as a foreigner, just to sort of see, like you said, I mean, it's the cultural birthplace, really, of StarCraft. And, you know, Idra, you were talking about Idra earlier. Like, are you kidding me? If he gets his head, like, I was like, get him a sports psychologist. This guy's going to be scary. He's already had experience over there. Getting him back over to Korea, forget it. If he gets his head right, there's your foreigner. There's
dude, they
your
can
foreigner
hire
that can win
me.
an
I will stand behind him with pom-poms, cheering him on every time they win.
I think they're
throughout
going to
the
find
night.
Robin's body at the dumpster of MLG after he becomes Idra's coach, and then Idra loses the Series 3-0.
oh, he will be
He's going to be like, you.
crucified.
It's
Crucified.
okay, it's okay.
Not my
I'll whisper
fault.
in his ear.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a quick commercial break. When we come back, Galen, we're gonna start looking at the StarCraft 2 pool preview for
All right.
MLG Orlando. We'll be right back.
Here we go, pool.
All right, guys, welcome back to Shifting Gears. Galen, StarCraft 2 pool preview, my friend. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we do. I guess we're starting Pool A. We've got Idra, Haypro, TLO, Boxer, and Druby.
Oof.
If you had asked me 2 weeks ago who's going to win that pool, I probably would have gone with Boxer.
Mhm.
But after, like I was talking about earlier, after watching Idra at IEM, Idra is playing super, super good right now. I mean, just getting to play against Puma for the 2 months that he's been over here, and he's gotten a chance to play with him. Idra is looking really, really strong right now, and I don't think he'll have a problem against Druby or TLO. I mean, ZVZ is kind of volatile, so I mean, Haypro might be able to snipe him, but I really think Idra will come out on top of there. But of course, also in Pool A, you're going to get the top seed out of the open bracket, which will likely be Marine King. Yeah, I mean, if you have to ask me, that's probably going to be Marine King coming out of there. And so Marine King could come in and run through their 5-0. But Pool A is pretty good. I think Idra is definitely the favorite of the people who are already in there right now. But, I mean, the Emperor, man, you can't always count out the Emperor.
I know, dude.
Impossible to bet against him.
I'm
You know
so
what?
pumped that he's coming again, and I'm so grateful that he had such a good time at his first MLG experience. And Jessica, dude, she is not just eye candy. She is focused as their manager. It was so funny because I had to get MMA over to the feature station. He had to go to the bathroom, and so I think they sent another Slayers player. I can't remember which one it was to go find him. And he wasn't coming back, and Jessica's like, I'm so sorry. It's like, it's okay. I know he had to use the bathroom. As soon as he gets back and we're ready to go, he finally comes in, and Jessica's like, yes! He grabs his backpack, and they're almost like running over to the feature station. And so it was really cool just to see that team united and talking to each other and helping each other. So Boxer, he's the man. He is the
He is the man.
I'll tell you what. Pool A, though.
You know what the thing? I want to say one thing about Boxer. I'm going to get my word in this time. The one thing I have to say about Boxer, though, so far in his StarCraft 2 career, he has been really good when he has some kind of a new gimmick or strategy. When he has something brand new, he's looked extremely strong. When he doesn't, he has looked extremely weak.
Yeah.
So the question that I'd really have about Boxer going in his tournament, does he have something new planned that's going to actually work out? Or does he still have his old stuff that's kind of figured out now? Because when Boxer doesn't have something new and people kind of got what he was doing in the previous tournament figured out, and basically, I mean, a lot of what he was riding on was that Blue Flame Honey stuff, which is now nerfed in the previous tournament. So he's not going to really be able to utilize that like he was. You know, I wonder if he's going to have something new ready or not where he can actually do well. Or else a guy like an Idra or maybe out of nowhere a Druby or a TLO could really end up taking Pool A, even with a guy like Marine King potentially making it in there, because everybody knows MKP is not exactly the most consistent either.
He's consistent up to the finals. Then he gets second every time.
Yeah.
Robin, I'm
Well,
sorry,
back
Robin.
in the day he was.
Yeah.
He's like, what, code like A now, I think he made it back into?
No, he was runner-up Code A in the last. I think it was Gonzi beat him in the Code A final, so he's another silver for him.
If anything, I would think we're probably going to see a lot more Hunter Seeker missile play, maybe from the Ravens since they buffed that. Maybe Boxer's got that up his sleeve. Maybe.
Yeah,
it's a big M for maybe, but we'll see.
I haven't seen a lot of Terrans use it yet, because I watch a lot of streams to see if people are trying stuff out or not. And I know they don't always want to show their hands before a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It's still bad.
It's I don't know. There's some niche uses for it where I think it could be really good.
It's as fast as a stalker.
Yeah,
But it hits and no one cares because it just doesn't
Hey,
do
I
enough
thought.
damage.
Wait a second. Good against Broodlords with enough Ravens.
No,
That's
you know what it is? You know what it is, Toby? If it doesn't, like, when you fire it, if there's not a message that comes up that says you win, it's no good for him.
Two little flags pop out.
What?
Quick,
as far as
though.
Boxer,
Go ahead, sorry.
Wiggin and then Tumba.
yeah, as far as Boxer coming up with something new though, like I would almost just expect it for an MLG. Like the reaction the guy got from the crowd the last time he was here, man, like you could tell he loved it, and I know he wants to impress people.
Went all Super
So
Saiyan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that GIF, but it's
Oh, I have.
hilarious.
Awesome.
Yeah, it is good. So I mean, it's just every time I think that he's gonna lose, man, he goes and he just goes on a tear. So plus the guy can snipe Idra. I've seen him do it a bunch of times.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like
Oh,
Idra
sorry,
does
you
not
go for
no,
it.
No. Wait, that's what I was gonna say. Just piggybacking off your point, I think Idra does not play well against Boxer. He didn't play well in the last. MLG against Boxer. As a matter of fact, he looked horrid in those games. The Baneling Nest was down 30 minutes late. He had no way to deal. I mean, I think he was actually mentally beat before that second game. So I think that Boxer's going to have a bit of an edge. As good as Idra is coming off this confident win, I still give the edge to Boxer. I think Boxer's going to take that pool.
Well, Boxer's playstyle kind of plays good against Idra's playstyle too. Idra's more comfortable when he's playing a more long, drawn-out macro game where there's not as much early game shenanigans, whereas Boxer is the type of guy who does like to, play with some cheesy pressures and stuff like that, which is kind of like the anti-Idra, you know what I mean? I mean, a guy who's going to play really cheesy against Idra is a lot of times going to do good against him because the one thing that Idra takes risks with on a regular basis is early game economy. And he'll overbuild drones sometimes, and there's those opportunities there that if you can hit the right timing push, you can just knock them out 2 games in a row real fast.
Yeah, that's true. But, perhaps Idra can be the Korean kryptonite as long as he stays within his games to take him out. But the crowd reaction that you brought up is so true, man. I mean, even if Boxer doesn't place first or second or even third, the crowd goes nuts. And most of the signs I've seen out in the crowd are either for Boxer or Idra. So they really are the fan favorites out there. I mean,
one thing about Boxer, man, he like that Super Saiyan gif, totally perfect. He is like Goku. The crowd is like a spirit bomb, man. They just give him energy, and he just plays great.
Yes.
If the crowd's there, he'll do well.
And he doesn't talk for 6 episodes before he fights either, like that show. So, moving on, Galen, for the next pool. Who do we have?
Pool B is Kiwi Kaki, Bomber, In Control, Sheth, and Puma.
Amazing.
And
pool.
yeah, and before DRG and who else dropped out of Pool D? Somebody help me. Anybody remember? Is DRG and somebody? I'm just brain farting right now. But I think Pool B is the strongest now.
Was it Sock?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Sock.
Yeah, it
that's
was
right.
Sake. Because he's going to IEM, right?
Yes, I want to say. Don't remember. But anyways, Pool B is really, really solid. I mean, Kiwi Kaki, he does crazy stuff, but at the same time, he plays like a really solid PVT, I feel like. And I think it was Bomber he played at the last MLG and took him to 3 games. So I think Kiwi Kaki is going to be really strong in that pool. Bomber is just so scary though, man. Like, that guy he's probably like a top 5 player in the world, I would say.
I loved his comment. Are you ready for bombing? That was awesome.
Puma's really good too, but I mean, I'm a huge Sheth fan also, and I feel like if Sheth
Who isn't a fan of Sheth?
Yeah, he's a freaking panda bear that you just want to hug and hope that it gives babies that
he's a cool guy.
you helped with. Like,
and he is so freaking good at StarCraft, man. Like, this guy is...
How? He plays with the keyboard on his lap. I can't play on a desk.
Yeah,
I can't play
right?
I don't get it. I mean, maybe I'm going to try it. You know what?
Dude, I mean, he's got... no offense to Chef. I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but, I mean, he's got the area to set it on, to play it on. So, I mean, he does have that, like, going for that style.
I don't know. That's amazing to me. I can't play on a nice, perfect desk. I can't imagine. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, works for him.
You know, it's true. He won't get thrown off by whatever the event setup is because he's not playing on it.
Yeah,
it's
that's true,
that's a good point, Nurse.
Maybe that helps him, you know?
Maybe.
His lap's always going to be the same lap, I mean, theoretically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
One thing about Sheth, like, why does he always lose that first game and then play amazing afterwards?
Yeah.
Sheth throws away units a lot. If I had to make a criticism of Sheth, he will tend to like do this really brilliant, well-staged attack and then just let a bunch of his important units die and try and replenish them instead of actually saving them. Like, I consistently see him throw away stuff.
Yeah, he recycles his Zerg army, which is okay when you get to the mid and late game when he goes for a style of 100, 105 drones. He can literally just replenish those over and over and over again. The point of his play is to be really aggressive in the face of his opponent, but if he goes with it too early, that's where he kind of folds, and I think that's the whole point of him losing game 1. It's kind of testing the waters with his opponent and see what he can do.
That false sense of security,
Seabiscuit.
maybe.
Seabiscuit, man. Seabiscuit. He has to come back from behind. Whisper in his ear. Go now.
I mean, Sheth aside, though, Bomber's in this group. Can anybody say Bomber's not going to win?
No, he's going to win it, but I feel like Kiwi Kaki definitely...
such ferocity.
Kiwi definitely has the potential to take games off him.
But Bomber's TVP specialist. Like that's
He's
his
a
match.
TV anything specialist. The dude tears people
Yeah, but
up.
his strength is actually against Protoss. Like that's where
Yeah.
he's even scarier. Like no Protoss beats him. Like he's just that good in TVP.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like the only person I could even think would give him a run would be Puma, and then I saw him 2-0 MVP. Bomber, that is 2-0 MVP in the MLG Global Invitational. I mean, if you can win any
And
games against MVP,
Yep,
Like,
exactly.
who else are you gonna lose to? You know,
He's scary right now. He could be the next Nestea/MVP in the GSL. You know, he's a scary player. He's looking really strong, and his other matchups that are his weaker matchups are obviously not that weak. You know, he's obviously looked brilliant in TVP and all of the ones that he's played, but he's no slouch in the other matchups, and he's only seeming to get better across the board.
plus everyone looks brilliant TVP.
But you know what I really would like to see out of Pool B? I'd like to see In Control win a game. Just because he's such a huge member.
That was going to be my next
That'd be
point.
nice, man.
I don't
Yeah,
care.
it's a-
I'd just like to see him win a game.
I feel for the guy. He tries really, really hard.
Yeah.
He really does.
He
It's
is a great personality for esports.
Yeah, I like
Yes.
In Control a lot.
He's a good business mind for esports. He's good all the way around, man. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. I hope to see him. I hope
don't
he
see
takes
him
some
win
games.
though.
He is the EG team captain, so it would be pretty good if he gets some wins in there. And I think shows that practice at the house.
I think
pays
his
off.
only chance will be as if somebody who he can beat comes out of the open bracket. Because I can't honestly right now, based on his past performance, see him beat Kiwakaki, Bomber, Sheth, or Puma. I can't see him beat any of those guys. Kiwakaki's good PvP. Bomber's a TVP specialist. Sheth is a ZVP specialist. And Puma's just really solid all around. So I honestly, unless he comes up like as a brand new Control, I could see him lose all those games, and his only hope would be whoever comes out of the open bracket.
Yeah. We'll see, man. I mean, for these last couple tournaments, it's almost been the community's been like, come on, In Control, come on. I mean, you've done. Go ahead.
I've watched his streams and like I've casted some of his games for MLG, and like the thing that I think he really, really, really slacks on is his multitasking. Like it's horrendous. It really is hard to watch. He understands the game, of course, and like you watch a stream, he's talking about what he's doing. You know what he's planning on doing. Unfortunately, multi-pronged attacks really destroy him. Idra knows that, and the Idra versus the Control match that I casted, Idra just tore him apart with 20 lings here and there, just jumping into the mineral lines and just making his whole army, because he literally puts it on one button, go from place to place to place, and you can't play like that, unfortunately.
Well, an argument could be that he's been too spread thin with a lot of his different endeavors that he's had for over the last year, over the last couple months.
Been talked about a lot.
Yeah.
For sure. 2 shows, commercials, no
Which
longer
are funny,
casting.
by the way.
Yeah, they are no longer casting for NASL, but still, still a full agenda, if you will. So,
And
show matches.
You could say the same thing about Boxer too. I mean, he
Yeah.
is the head of that team. He's moving over from Brood War, even though everybody's moving over from Brood War. But
Well, Boxer hadn't played Brood War for a while.
well, that's true. Yeah. So
That's the scary part is the new. I mean, we haven't even seen the potential from Brood War
4GG,
players.
yo.
I mean, shoot, Huck beat him at Brood War today.
Yeah,
yeah.
it hurt. I was at work.
So
Saw a
I
tweet.
I could feel for the guy, but seriously, when you meet him in real life, dude, he's awesome. He's just a nice
he's
guy to
really
talk
cool.
to. He's not. Some people like troll him constantly, like, oh, In Control, la 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 la. I'm not gonna say what they say, but of anybody that would deserve anything like that, it's not him. I mean,
Clutch, we did a show match with him where he played Destiny, and I never thought that stuff would ever affect him. And Reddit blew up, and really he had another show match with Destiny scheduled the next day. He canceled it, and it was a little bit of controversy over it, and it was terrible.
Destiny's fans are brutal.
He can't choose your fans, but here's the point. In Control said, and I think he said it best, this isn't an MLG final. Why can't we just have a fun show match where I try something new that may be entertaining that we haven't seen, maybe a Warp Prism drop, maybe something. Why does everything have to be critiqued down to this troll level, this trollish level? And I think he said it best. Fortunately, he did come back to another show match, and it was with actually Major, and it was a fun match. Like I think that's sort of what In Control personifies, is what StarCraft 2 sort of should be about. There's that professional feel, but still fun to it kind of thing. So.
Exactly. I think he brings a nice balance to it. But I root for the guy. There's a lot of players I root for, and he's just one of them. because of his multifaceted approach to the game, to the entertainment portion of it, and being involved with the community. I mean, the guy does a lot. So, and I voted for Anna for Miss USA.
Miss Oregon or Miss USA or whatever.
Yeah, why not, man? Support esports. Well, the story was on her resume for the competition, she put down avid video game player, avid esports enthusiast. And like, you should take that off. So I'm not going to take that off. So, standing up for what you're passionate about when it seems to be unseemly in the girly world, I think gives her some serious bonus points, man. So I think they do a lot for esports. And, it's Team EG. I mean, they are one of the top teams when it comes to esports. And the trolls can just shut up, which they're not going to. But, all right, next pool, Galen.
Pool C is Slush coming in at the top seed, Rhett, Rain, Machine, and Hongan.
Rhett, that guy's performing very well.
Dude, Rhett is so good, man. And like, I'm a really huge Rhett fan. Slush is a player that he's been getting a lot of good wins at MLGs because he plays like his own style of Zerg, and he catches a lot of people off guard. Like, I actually remember a game, it was him versus Rhett, I think it was Anaheim, where he went for a Burrowed Infestor Rush, ZBZ. Like, he just does crazy stuff like that and catches people off guard. So, I mean, he's a player you can't really predict in the pool. I mean, everyone knows how Rhett plays. He makes 100 drones before making any units. So he's always really hard to play against if you don't pressure him. Just a really solid macro player. Rain is just a solid macro Terran too. Solid Korean Terran. Machine is a player that I'm a big fan of too, but I just don't feel like he's up to skill in this.
He's making
pool.
big strides though. He really is.
I mean, he's a great player, man. Don't get me wrong. Like, I really do like Machine. I like watching his stream. But it's going to be a really tough pool for him, especially ZVZ is such a volatile matchup. Like, he could run into some problems. And Hongan, as much as I'm a Protoss fanboy, like, he's a player that just doesn't really impress me. I mean, he's been in Code S for a while. He's always like that. He's that middle-of-the-road Code S player. Never gets knocked down to Code A, but never really gets to pass the round of 8 in Code S. I mean, he plays a really solid style. He's actually a really macro-oriented Protoss, which I like to watch. He doesn't favor like some of those 6-gate timings and those kind of things that Protosses are doing a lot of these days. But, I mean, it's hard to call. I think you have to say Hongan's the favorite just because, well, Hongan or Rain, one of the two Koreans are the favorites coming out of here. But, Rhett's so good and Slush is so, unpredictable. I mean, I think it's going to be a really interesting pool overall.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
I mean, you got to think of, when you're looking at Pool C, I mean, one guy who is kind of like one of the unsung heroes of StarCraft 2 is Slush. He consistently finishes well every single MLG, but because he's not one of those guys who does the interviews or says something outlandish or smashes the F4 key off his keyboard, nobody talks about him. Because he's kind of just there. He goes about his business and finishes like top 10, 12, maybe even better every single event. I mean, I'd agree with you. I think Hong Young is kind of a joke for having a Korean to have in that pool. Machine's been better, but still is kind of weak. I mean, it's really, I think, going to come down to Rain and Rhett with the outside chance that Slush does something crazy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Machine's going to prove you guys wrong. I'm telling you. Machine, I've been watching him.
He's good, man.
He's another super nice guy, man. When you get to meet him, I always root for the nice guys, kind of like that. But
I'd like to see Machine do good.
Yeah,
but he's definitely struggled. But if he was gonna do good, this is definitely a good group to do good in because it's quite possibly the weakest group out of all of them, aside from Rhett and Rain.
Bracket player taking that.
Yeah, depends who comes out of
like it's a Muslim or something like that.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. The Muslim's been a beast lately.
He's improved.
He's putting in his 14 hours a day, man.
That EG house, man, and you're right, Robin, because, Machine, he just finished second at the Hotkey at LAN in Arizona, and some good players showed up to that. So I think Gator beat him, who's no slouch at all. I think he's like ranked third in NA on Grandmaster.
It's been a couple months since that EG house has been up, and I think we're starting to see just little results here, but the results that are big enough to be like, okay, they're already better than the people that aren't in a house, Yep. They're doing fantastic. I've casted Machine in about 3 tournaments in the last few weeks, and every time I watch him, I've always got the mentality like, she's not that good, and then I just get amazed by him. I get blown away, and I'm like, this guy is doing fantastic. I love it. I'm saving this replay, and I'm watching it 4 times in a row because that was awesome. Machine is doing great. To Muslim, #1 EU, #1 NA. That house is helping a lot, guys. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Within a year.
Well, any type of great training regiment where you can actually talk StarCraft and live StarCraft all day, have that culture like the Koreans have, but do it in your own little bubble even, it's still going to help you. And that's essentially what they've done. They've taken that, like, where StarCraft 2 is the big culture in Korea, they've got that EG house, and they can create their own StarCraft 2 culture in their own little bubble where they just live, eat, StarCraft 2 all day.
Nurse, it is a much more comfortable bubble, believe me, because if you've seen those team houses, I think a team house is about as big as the kitchen in that house, so they are
the new TSL house is not that bad. I've seen some pictures. It's actually quite a big step up for Korean housing.
I stand corrected.
Yeah, it's made a difference, and I was excited to hear that they were doing that, and when you see the lineup behind In Control during State of the Game of all the players playing, and sometimes he'll turn around and be like, hey, shh, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you shouldn't be talking, you should be playing. But it's good to see that difference. And once again, it's that investment. It's that investment that is needed for progression, and it's great to see that a foreigner team is making that happen. But that's a big advantage for those Korean teams. You know, they're working together. They're coming up with strategies together and working on those different ladder mechanics, which is key to success in the tournaments. Galen, final pool.
Pool D is Huck, Hero, Tyler, MC in July, and in a
Terran's
time
gonna win it.
in a time where Protoss is struggling, it's really unfortunate that all these Protosses have to sit there and kill each other.
Why?
I don't know. I'm like the biggest Liquid Hero fan like in the entire world. I'm a huge fan. I think he's over the next few months we're gonna see him elevate his play to like a top 5 in the world kind of level. Mm-hmm. But right now he's still kind of young. He's still, I feel like maybe tilts. He just gets real cheesy sometimes, gets real all-inish sometimes, and like his late game's so good. I don't really understand why he does that so much. But I mean, Huck's a great player, MC's a great player, and PvP is such a weird matchup right now because of the 4-gate change. People are exploring a lot of new strategies. So I feel like, you know, the two Korean Protosses are going to be ahead kind of the more refined PvP metagame. So I think they're the favorites over Huck and Tyler for sure. And July is like, I mean, it's freaking July Zerg, man. He's the reason I got into StarCraft, and he plays a really weird style of Zerg. He plays like a real low drone, high aggression, like
really hard style.
I
tried it for a
loves
couple days.
He just loves to go and kill people, man. As soon as he sees like an ounce of weakness, he just starts making units and doesn't stop. So he's a pretty unpredictable player. Like I want to say after watching MC lately, I think his play has really improved. I think he is the favorite here, but I think July is pretty good ZVP too. And I mean, I'm a huge Hero fan, so it's really hard for me to predict. I'm gonna have to say I think MC comes out of there, but it's gonna be an interesting pool for sure.
When you have to pick MC, look at his based on results for the year. He may have played bad recently, but 2 GSL titles. He's won more money than any other StarCraft 2 player. So he's one that has the most tournament winnings. He's got a ton of second and third place finishes, and you know that's something that really July doesn't have, nor Hero or anybody else on the board. But you know, recently he's been slumping a little bit, so we're gonna have to see. But also, I think he wants to get back to Code S, so I think he's hungry for this one. And I'd put Huck up there as a Korean Protoss at this point. I mean, he's under the Korean training regiment. He's played well enough. He's no stranger to Code S. So I mean, I think that that's going to be. There's a lot of Protoss talent in there. I will laugh if July beats them all. If July comes out on top, that would be quite ironic.
I think Galen just smashed something.
He's just so... You never know what July's going to do, and his all-ins, like, they're not, like, predictable. It's not like he goes 7 pool every game, or builds 2 base and goes all in, or builds 3 base and goes all in. He, like, picks random point X in the game, and he's like, I saw that you built a Zealot when I thought you should have built a Sentry. I'm an all-in you now. Yeah. Like, that's, like, he's got, like, these little tiny triggers, and then he's just all in all of a sudden. So he's totally unpredictable, and you can't, like, prepare for it, because if you try and prepare for it, he'll just drone up all of a sudden to like 60 drones before he goes and attacks you, and then you'll be so far behind that his 60 drone all-in will work. So like he's just so unpredictable in this group, and it's going to be crazy to see how he actually affects the way this group goes. Because I think if anything, I wouldn't pick July to win the group, but I would potentially pick July to play spoiler as to who else wins the group. I really think a lot of it will probably come down to Huck, Hero, and MC, and depending on how they play in their PvPs. Hero, I'm not likely to pick as much because he plays such a risky style, and MC does that too. To be totally honest, the one who plays the most solid, safe style, I think, is Huck, which I think will give him an advantage in this group because he's more likely to come out of this with less bruises than a Hero and MC. But the thing is, with the high risk versus reward style that Hero and MC both tend to play, if it pans out for them, they could easily take the group. So, I mean, I think it's really between those three Protosses, and a guy like July might play the spoiler as to which one of them wins it.
Well, and
I'm
also,
guessing Clutch is going to root for... I don't mean to interrupt. I'm guessing he's going to root for Tyler, though, because, again, you always like the nice guy, so, you know, there it is.
That's true. That's true.
Nice guy. He kind of likes to tell the community, like, stay away from me, I'm business now.
Well, yeah, I understand where he's coming from, though, because even when I was working with the Koreans when they first came, I had to help them get through the crowd sometimes. And one night, July was pretty tired. And I was walking with a couple other people, and people kept asking. And July, like, it hurt him to say no to his fans not to sign stuff. But I went up and said, guys, he's really tired. We got to get him to the hotel. And they're like, okay, we understand. And we walked off, and July was like, thank you. You know, so
Yeah.
So I understand the mentality Tyler's coming from. But with that experience that I had from July, I became a fan. So we'll see. But Ryan mentioned that there's, 12 Koreans total coming to the event? Now, that's
a lot.
That's the ones that are already seated, right? Including the open bracket?
I think that's total.
Total?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely total.
Okay.
Because there's not 12 Koreans in pool play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
That'd be insanity.
Some.
Oh, we'd have to change the MLG title characters to be Korean.
You have to change it to TVT after a while.
Yeah.
So it's the way of GSL. Welcome to the MLG TVT StarCraft 2 stream.
Yeah.
As a caster, that's so hard. And Day 9 even mentioned it recently. It's like you want to see different matchups. Like it's mirror matches are great, but too many of any mirror match. I don't care if it's Terran, Protoss, or any of them can be, monotonous.
Well, Ryan can tell you that MLG as a whole does not plan TVT. Like we don't say, hey, how many Terrans can we bring this tournament?
Oh, I heard that's how it worked. I got the super secret memo.
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it's actually
Well, how do you
Robin, that
invite
was
the
you.
best
Well, it was a
players
secret.
when
Sorry,
there's
I spread lies.
like 20-something Terrans in the GSL Codes right now? If you're trying to invite the best ones, what are the odds they're going to be a Terran versus a Protoss, who really most of Protoss and Codes probably shouldn't be there, or a Zerg where there's like two guys who are any good? You got like Lucira and Nestea, and the other ones are just kind of hanging in there, and they have some sort of results every now and
pretty
then.
good. Coca came,
Who?
got second. Coca.
Yep. Coca did really
Yeah.
well.
really
Koga's
He's
so
so
good,
fast
man.
in
Dude, he is
person.
so
But most of the up and coming Koreans are in Code A, but the way their system's set up, since they don't have a lot of pay for the teams and salaries and stuff, it's set up so it's hard to fall out of Code S intentionally, because that's like their pay is being in that tournament. But at the same time, that means you get some weak players that stay in there longer than they probably should. So, I mean, but if you're MLG based on like guys who are in Code S or something like that, like you want to invite the strongest players. And the strongest players right now in the Code S are Terrans, minus like Nestea and maybe MC, who's now fallen like off into La La Land trying to get back into Code S. But like, I mean, who do you got? You got like Nestea, Lucira,
Dongrigu.
Danragu.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, out of the
RG.
Code S guys, I was like, you got like a couple of them, and that's it.
Well, Terran produces the most wins over there in Korea. I think that's why it's the most popular race. But Blizzard does all the stats and the crunching of numbers, and they're like, well, yes, overall the game's balanced as far as races, more or less. But when it comes to pro players, man, it seems Korea Terran's the way to go. But maybe with these changes in the patch, we'll maybe see some Protoss victories.
I'm excited. I think they will.
Oh,
I really do.
I think Legacy of the Void. By then, we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
I think 13,
14 years down the road, we'll be
1 year after Legacy of the Void. Well,
When they stop going one base DT, which is like one of the most predictable builds in all of StarCraft, they might start winning some more matches.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick commercial, and then we're going to shift gears over to Heart of the Swarm. So we'll be right back.
Las Vegas Casino.
Now, of course, I have my mirror image.
Welcome back to Shifting Gears. I'm Clutch. I heard Casino was coming in. Anyway, Heart of the Swarm. Guys,
Josh,
yes.
timeout?
Go ahead.
Can we mention something? It's been mentioned in the chat a couple times. Spartacus.
Go ahead.
About
Wiggin.
Idra. Idra dropped out of his group play at IPL. There's a Team Liquid. I don't know if we can. I don't think we can link it in chat actually. But if you go to Team Liquid, it's up there right on the StarCraft 2 general section. After going 1-2 against White Raw, he forfeited the rest of his matches in group play, taking the 4th seed, saying that he was too jet lagged after traveling from China and stuff like that to really compete.
Yeah, no, right?
I can understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I'll be
That's who it
completely
really
okay with it when he comes into Orlando next week and he wins. But
Yeah.
for now,
Well, you know
I'm
what?
upset at him.
You know what the most important thing to note, though, is for IPL, the way they have this tournament set up, I can see why he dropped out, because he wants to win the tournament. And frankly, the pool play is absolutely meaningless when it comes to winning the tournament, because you're just going to get seeded into the 32-man bracket regardless and have to win your way from there. So from that viewpoint, it's not going to be... He's still going to have to beat the best players to win the tournament either way. And he's maybe making it a little bit harder for himself by dropping out. But if he's going to be so tired that he has no chance once it comes to bracket play, it's meaningless. So if he can drop out, go to sleep, and that's going to make him play better, I can see why he'd do that from a competitive standpoint. The only thing that sucks is for the fans who obviously came there who maybe wanted to see him play these matches.
Yeah, and now that the stream has been working, a lot of people have been wanting to see that. But I'm sure that's something that he discussed with his teammates and probably with Sir Scoots before he made that. Hopefully, before he made that decision.
He just does it. Sorry, Scoot, deal with it. You pay my paychecks, but I do.
Yeah.
But he looked terrible today. I saw his matches versus White Ron. He looked extremely sloppy. After looking absolutely amazing at IEM Gung So whatever, I'm killing it, I know. But after he looked absolutely amazing and spot on in those games, he looked like absolute horse crap in those games against White Raw. Like, he was just sloppy. He was throwing units away left and right, making bad decisions left and right. Like, his mind, like, just was not where it needed to be. And he was getting behind in macro against White Raw. And, like, this is a guy who just loves the macro, and he's getting behind in his macro. Like, he's just so sloppy. It was ridiculous.
That's unfortunate, but hopefully he made the best decision at that time. But we'll see with the results. But I can feel for him in that kind of scenario, man. And that's these guys' schedules with the jet lag and the different tournaments and the time zone changes. It gets nuts sometimes. I can see it in a lot of the Korean players' faces. Some of them, they forget to eat or don't have time to eat because of the marathons they have to participate in with all the
I don't know.
matches.
I'm kind of on the fence on that one. I mean, part of me thinks it's like Nursky. Nobody appreciates what Nursky just said, and they just, he's a quitter, derp, derp, and actually what Nursky said makes complete sense because pool play isn't valued as highly there in that particular event. That it is,
It's not
from a
worth
competitive standpoint, it's a great idea, right? But then again, do you think you'd see Huck do that? Like, Huck has traveled around.
That's true.
But
Like
you know
a
what?
champ.
His
He's been
results
everywhere.
suffered like heck when he was traveling.
But
Like,
you know what? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I think he benefited from it in the end. If that guy gets, all that travel and everything,
jet lag.
it's tough. It's tough.
Jet lag will get you, man.
It's a terrible problem to have if you think about it in the overall. It's like, oh God, there's so many of these like $100,000 StarCraft 2 tournaments I got to go to that I'm just so
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Well, I can't go on. Oh, if I win any more money this year, I don't know what I'll do with it. I'll have to buy like a Bentley or something. Oh,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
First world problem, man. First world problem. But it is unfortunate. The people that really lose are the fans that wanted to see those matches. So hopefully he can perform.
Yeah.
I feel like he'll do all right. Get a good night's sleep.
If he can play well once he hits bracket play, people will forgive him for leaving.
Mm-hmm.
But if he goes out and loses in the round of 32, he won't hear the end of it until MLG Orlando.
Yeah.
Guaranteed it, because that is how the internet works.
Well, the longest week.
If it works, they'll be like,
Rob.
that was so smart. And if it doesn't, they'll be like, see, I told you that was a dumb idea.
Yeah, that's how the internet works. That's how it works.
I'm gonna tweet him.
Well, thank you to chat for that update and for Dave grabbing that for us.
Spartacus.
Spartacus. Thank you,
I love
Spartacus.
Spartacus.
I am
Dude,
Spartacus. All right, well, let's talk about Heart of the Swarm, because we had mentioned the expansions coming out. We have Heart of the Swarm and then Legacy of the Void. I'm a huge single-player fan of StarCraft because of the story. I'm really excited about... Well, I'm pretty excited. Really excited, we'll see, because I did see that leaked video footage of the ending to Heart of the Swarm, and I was like, oh my gosh. Anyways, but as far as units, man, it was almost like Dustin Browder was hinting, hey, guess what, Terran, you're fine. You don't need any units. And then the first thing that they reveal lately is this Terran silhouette of a firebat with an auto repair gun on his head or something like that. What? WTF, man? Like, I play Terran, and I'm all for, like, Terran benefits, but I'm a little taken back with...
Help me, Lord!
pose.
Somebody save me! Save
The
me.
unit that
Think
shoots
about
the
this.
I win flags across the
This
screen.
is the point where I get uninvited.
well, the floor is yours, so hopefully
What
nothing will...
on earth, Blizzard, are you... the whole time... Dustin, I'm going to come out and admit that maybe Terran is... It's a little more refined. It's finished. And the other two, we're going to show some love. And by the way, here's a really cool silhouette for Heart of the Swarm that has nothing to do with Zerg, but more to do with the race I just said was complete, and now I'm sitting here confused. They're the best troll of all time. So that's Not
He
only
wins.
does it, and I've got some inside information on it. It's got siege mode, cannon. It excretes extra gas and minerals that other things can pick up. It can auto repair buildings and instantly warp in anywhere on the map, from what I've heard. So, I'm all for it. I can't wait. Heart of the Swarm's going to be great. I'm so glad they're debuting with it now. But in seriousness, I don't get it, man. Like, I'm not super excited about this silhouette. I want to see a Zerg silhouette, and I'm a Protoss player.
Yeah.
I think what they said is they were gonna show no units in the actual lineup of how the expansions are coming out. Like they'll show a Terran
said
unit, a
campaign
Zerg
order.
unit, and a Protoss unit. But yeah, I thought it was pretty funny though. I don't know if you were looking at Reddit. There's a silhouette of the Terran unit just filled
Yeah,
with rocks.
transforming
It's
Hellraiser.
all rocks. No, it's all rocks. Like it's just a huge Thor rock. And it's
Oh, somebody said that. Yeah, somebody
Yeah,
also
it's
had that
hysterical.
ability. It actually, I think it might have been Clutch or Wiggin that said that it actually can spawn rocks, destructible rocks, wherever it wants instead of force. It's good.
Yeah.
It's a great
The
move.
Mammoth tank will be next. Your planetary fortress will now spawn tracks and move across the map.
Part of
I
that.
think that's fair.
that would be amazing.
That's
Actually.
real
Nice
fair.
balance.
That'd be the greatest
He's got to
expansion
get
building
all
ever.
of his Command and Conquer units somehow into the game eventually. If he doesn't
Yeah.
do it, his life will not be complete.
He has to get some sort of Tanya character in there.
He's got a weird bucket
So.
list.
He's got his tripod already,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. We'll see. Like, I was really taken back by that. And of any unit that they could tweak for Terran would be the Reaper. I feel that that's, like, barely even using if it is. Like, hey, surprise, I made Reapers, la-da-da. So, we'll see, man. But, Zerg, what are you guys' predictions? What can they change? You think it's way too macro-intensive? Or, go ahead,
They
Nevsky.
have made some hints as to what they're going to change with Zerg, and me being somebody who ladders with Zerg in 1v1, I've been paying a lot of attention to that. They've claimed, now, I mean, until I actually see it, I'm not going to believe it, but they've claimed they're going to address the issues with like things like Corruptors being way too niche to use in a lot of instances, so they've talked about potentially just getting rid of the Corruptor altogether and replacing it with
Yeah,
something.
I want Hydras. I want
They've-
them to work.
They've talked about adjusting Overseers in some way because they don't really like the entirety of how they function.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They've hinted towards maybe working on Ultralists in this recent patch when they decreased their build time because they wanted to take that out of factors that could be hurting the Ultra, but they're looking at changing the Ultra. And then they also mentioned that they want to give Zerg some kind of a potentially a siege unit that would fill a role similar to what the Lurker did in Brood War. That might not be the Lurker, but would be something that fills that niche where you have a literal ground-holding unit that's not a spellcaster. Because really, the Infestor was like this unit that was like trying to be the jack of all trades to fill all the gaps in for the Zerg race. They were the ground holder. They were the big power unit. They were the everything unit.
The caster unit.
But it makes them way too strong. I mean, I think the old Infestor Broodlord style, it was too strong. It was way too easy to use. Yes, there was ways to deal with them. I'm not going to say you couldn't, but it was too strong. But the problem that they had on the flip side of it is that when you nerf the Infestor, Zerg's units are also niched. You know, the Hydralisk, you know, Banelings, Mutas, everything. Like, it has such a hard, easy counter that's normally going to be in your opponent's army that the basic design of the Zerg was just like you have to always have this perfect unit composition to get done what you need to get done. And if you go a little bit too much this way or that way, which is easy to do, you lose the game. So, like, I think they're trying to address those issues so that the race plays better. But I was actually talking this about with Tobias earlier today, Tumba, and one big point that I tried to get across was Brood War, soft counter system. Didn't have all these problems with balance.
Right.
StarCraft 2 hard counter system, and now it's like you're walking on pins and needles all the time with the balance on the game.
Yeah, it's and one thing though I think we can all agree that they got right about Zerg in SE2 is the swarm factor, right?
Yes.
Lings look amazing. They're swarmish. The animation, the way they attack, the way they work, roaches also, but you know, Nursk and I were talking about it, it's like, man, you know, are too many changes a bad thing, sort of? Because even in Brood War, it took this long. They used a lot of mapping to balance. They used a lot of different things, and maybe being too centric on these unit builds. He brings up a great point, because when you have hard counters, it doesn't exactly make for the most exciting games either, because you have these big lead-ups, and then the whole thing's over in a second. It's in a flash, right? So, and it's one of those things where hopefully in Heart of the Swarm, I think they take a turn for that, and they can keep the swarmishness and maybe lighten a little bit of the macro load.
It's possible. I mean, the macro load has been a lot of the complaints that I've heard since day one of the game. You compare Terran or Protoss.
Well, they have the least. Zerg has the least forgiving macro mechanic. If you miss an inject, you can't go back and inject twice later.
Yeah.
You've just missed it.
I mean, if I missed a mule, it's like, oh, I can drop 2 mules. One can repair my Thor out in the middle of the field, taking out, you know, a bunch of stalkers. So, and that's the complaint I heard the most was the macro style of the Zerg, is that it was too intense. It required too much of that focus. But maybe they'll change that. I'm not sure. I think the one mechanic that they could really change for the Zerg is that. But with the Hydra, when I see Hydras, I raffle stomp them with siege tanks. Like, I don't feel.
You can raffle stomp them with probes.
Wait
and
a second.
SCVs.
Hold
I've
it.
seen a probe line.
Wait,
surround
he sees Hydras, and who's making Hydras against you as a Terran? That's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
I
they.
saw Damaga do it, man.
I'll tell you
saw
for a
Damaga
fact
do
that I
it.
made it work with drops. Roach Hydras and drops into the Terran.
It's possible. It's possible. Like, I'd be even more surprised than you were if I lost to it. But still, that's like one of the most iconic. It's one of the most iconic units in StarCraft is the Hydralisk, and it seems like they forgot to make it till the very end of the game. You know, for Wings of Liberty. But StarCraft 2 has done a lot of things right, and it's done more things right than it has wrong. Wrong. So a lot of these things that we nitpick at, you know, in reality, it's still a heck of a lot of fun to watch and to play. And I think the matchmaking system in Battle.net is the best matchmaking system made for a game.
It's amazing. Yeah, I mean, you can get into. There's a lot of stuff that Blizzard people come down on them for, from name changes to, you know, the chat mode coming in late. I don't understand if people fully appreciate the load they have. And I mean, people say, well, they're a big company, hire more people. Yeah, but if you're building a house and you hire 14 plumbers, you can still only install one sink at a time. You know, it's not.
You don't.
Well, I think some of the flack they take, though, is that Battle.net 2.0 has less features in a lot of respects than Battle.net 1.0 did. Like, there's stuff that's missing that was in the other one. And I think that's why they maybe take a lot of heat. Now, obviously, they might have had to reprogram that all to actually make it work still.
Yeah, they
so
did.
that might be why it's missing, and people aren't going to be understanding of that, though, obviously. They're going to be like, well, I had my this. Why don't I have my this still now?
Well, and
Shared
also,
replays.
the undertaking is bigger because it's cross-game with their different universes. When it came out, you could talk to people on World of Warcraft, and now it's going to work for Diablo 3. So that definitely had to take some development time in order for that to work. But yeah, that was another big complaint that I heard, especially with the chat channels. We still haven't seen the map auction system or the map buying system. I don't know what the official name is, but you could create a map and then sell it on Battle.net for a couple dollars and make money that way. We still haven't seen that implemented. Maybe it'll come out with Heart of the Swarm. But what I believe will come out with Heart of the Swarm is the Blizzard Dota, or at least a little bit after. But as far as features for Battle.net, I don't use chat channels. I mean, they're great. They're great to communicate with, and I remember using them for Brood War, but I don't really use them now. So, and what was the most important thing about laddering, or about Battle.net? It was the ladder system and matchmaking, and they got that right. So at least they got the most important thing right. So kudos to them. So what do you guys feel each race needs? Terran, I don't think we need anything. I think we need to maybe a proper place for the Reaper. But Wiggin, I'll let you start off since you're a big Terran
I can speak on this a little bit. We probably don't need anything, but I think they could shift some things around. Like, for example, just take TVP. Bioplay is like the only thing you can actually do. You can go mech, but it's really gimmicky. I would. There's been a lot of talk lately, especially on the Team Liquid forums, about whether or not people really like that. Whether they like that bio is what you should do in TVP, if it feels Terran or not. I would love to see them bring bio down a little bit, especially the Marauder, and do something to make mech more viable in that matchup. Maybe something like a Goliath, or like some sort of Hellion that transforms and can shoot air.
Oh god.
Like they could make this really huge unit, and they could call it a Thor, and it would shoot air and ground.
Yeah, it's just too bad it takes forever to make. You know.
Yeah, and then it
to
could
be
be
viable.
like less DPS than a single Marine on a Void Ray.
Yeah.
But anyway, but no, I would like to see something that would sort of let a Terran player like zone something out, like a Spider Mine or something like that, like zone out in an area to make mech a little more viable. Because I think mech play is more, it's more difficult and more strategically interesting. It might not be quite as exciting as like Selects dropping like 5 medevacs worth of bio into some guy in Code's base, but I just think it's better, and I think it's better for the game. So I'd like to see something that could sort of like make mech more solid and less gimmicky.
Okay.
That would be what I'd like to see.
Okay. Does anybody else play Terran, or is it just Wiggin and myself?
No, but I kind of want to jump off of Dave's point too.
Go ahead.
Basically, what Blizzard did is they gave you a factory unit out of the barracks with the Marauder. I mean, you get like this 125 hit point armored unit out of the barracks, which is just really weird. So that's why, barracks play is so popular. And I mean, I just don't know what they could do to make like factory play a lot more viable, especially against Protoss, without doing something about the Marauder.
They should give Marines.
But part of the problem is the
Bayonets.
way the Thor works in that matchup. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the Thor, when it doesn't have energy, it's way too strong. It just stomps the tar out of Immortals and stuff. And then when you do give it energy, it's too easy to just feed back and kill.
Yeah.
So it's like this weird thing where it's like the Thor's just like not this unit that they can balance right in that matchup to really make mech more viable in that matchup.
It's very good.
I kind of laugh at the help bar within the game when it's like, Thors are great against Stalkers. And I'm like, oh, Blizzard, you're so funny.
They actually do.
That's funny.
They do pretty well against
Thors have a
Stalkers.
high rate of DPS. They actually
really
fire
do.
ridiculously
they do
fast.
pretty well against Stalkers.
I've seen like 20 Lings attack a Thor, and a Thor just mow them all down.
But Clutch is right. Like, if you read the Blizzard suggested, I think it says, like, sentries kill mutas. And I'm like, oh!
Yeah, they got to update that a little.
There's my problem.
Whatever they did in the beta, they were what you went, man.
8 damage sentry, give me back, please.
But yeah,
They
I'm
shine the
definitely
flashlight in their eyes, and the muta crashes into a tree.
Glitter, man. It's
Yeah. Wiggin, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm definitely not saying that, like, I'm not saying Terran needs a buff. I would actually like to see them make it harder to play bio, like significant. Well, yeah, I know, shocker, right? If they made it actually just a lot like harder to play Terran, but gave you that meching option, then I think me and a lot of other Terran players would be a lot happier with that. Actually, there'd be people that love bio play, but
Yeah. Well, something's gonna happen. We've seen a silhouette. So, all right, let's move on to Zerg. Who wants to go and take it for Zerg?
I'll take it for Zerg.
All right.
And then I'll let Robin chime in.
I'll piggyback off you.
He's such a cute guy.
Awkward. Okay, keep going.
But
Zerg
no,
though.
I'd like to see them address early game scouting. Also with Protoss too. I'm gonna throw that out there just briefly. I'd like to see them fix early game scouting with Zerg and even Protoss. I think that's something that those races struggle with. I'd like to see them increase the options that the Zerg race has. I think one of the things that like people don't really realize is when you look at the Zerg, like they have like 2 routes they can go in a lot of matchups. It's like they're playing a ZVT. You can go Ling Infester, or you can go Ling Muta. And like there's little variations and nichey things that people try to do, like I'm gonna go Roach Infester. But then like if the guy's got 8 siege tanks, it just obliterates it and it doesn't matter. So like there's like maybe some stuff that's unexplored out there still, but there's not a lot of options there. So I'd really like to see them increase the options. I'd like to see them fix some of the units that have too much of a niche use. Like Hydras are only good for like one thing, you know. You look at Corruptors, they're only good for one thing. Overseers only really good for one thing. Mutas are kind of weak to a lot of different things. So I'd like to see them make it so that it feels just as flushed out as like the Terran race does. Like you look at Terran and they're at least very flushed out, very complete. There's a lot of options they can go. I'd like to see Zerg feel more like that, where it's still swarmy and stuff. You know, maybe your units aren't as cost efficient as Terran or Protoss, but the units gel better, and you can go different routes with the units and stuff, and not feel like you're going to just lose the game if you don't go down X path in every single matchup. Like I'd like to see a Roach not have to get built in a PVZ, you know, just once. It'd be awesome. Like there's been some people on Ling Infester, but it's like very nichey, and
good.
as soon as there's a Colossus on the field, you know, especially with the Neural Parasite nerf, it's like right back to Roaches, and it's like, ugh. I just hate these Roaches being like this catch-all unit that's not really even all that great. Very supply inefficient.
Well, it's kind of the same problem as the Marauder, right? It's like that. It just kind of does everything you need.
Only the Marauder
Not
is
as
awesome.
good, mind you. But
If it could shoot up, it would be perfect.
If I could trade Roaches for Marauders, you can have the Roaches, and I'll take the Marauders.
Anybody would take that trade.
like-
I'll take Zealot. Have 2 Zealots. I just want 1 Marauder. 2 for 1. I'll give you. No, we can broke this right
I'm
now.
definitely not trying to compare them like 1-to-1. But I'm just saying you have like this like triangle of units that like it's almost like they had to have the Roach for the Marauder and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's kind of like messed everything up, like that hard counter system you mentioned.
Both kill the Zealot quite nicely, by the way.
Soft counter system is better. You can it allows you so much more flexibility with the units when like they're not set up to hard counter each other. And it makes the game more interesting because like maybe you don't have the right unit for the job, but you can get by with good control until you do get the right unit. And right now it's like, I went Mass Sling and he built a Colossus. I guess I lose, darn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's kind of hokey that way.
Yeah, I can see that. Sometimes it feels that way when Zerg goes Mass Roach with, oh wait, I can just make Marines, and they still die. So
Yeah, exactly.
manner. All right. Protoss players. Or Robin, did you want to piggyback on that at all? Or?
I really think early game, the only thing that really gets me as Zerg is the anti-air. I really don't want to make more than 3 queens. I really like using those minerals for drones, of course. And I think, of course, the Hydra being so crappy, yeah, you have to go to layer tech in order to get Hydra. It just takes forever to get really good anti-air. I think a good option maybe would be allow Hydras on actually hatchery tech, because they are pretty gas heavy. You won't be able to mass up a huge amount until you get to a second base. And they're slow, and they're not really that great to even get when you do get to layer tech, so you opt to go Infester and Muta. I think it's a really good option. Scouting isn't that bad, really. I think Lings, they're so fast and mobile, you can really just put them in strategic places to see what might be coming your way. So I'd really just like to see.
It comes, though.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I've watched a lot of Cat's plays, actually. And he's the only player that I actually watched that plays Zerg that literally has Lings just running, patrolling everywhere, and they can literally see the whole entire map. They're really a cost-effective 25 minerals
I was
to
speaking
have
more to the early
scouting
game.
information.
When I was
Yeah,
talking
that's what I'm
about
saying. Well,
scouting.
early game, you
Like
have the
all-ins
Lings
and
everywhere.
stuff are hard to catch.
That's why you have the Lings everywhere. I don't know. I really don't think it's that bad. I really think early game anti-air with Hydra, just being allowed at hatchery tech, they cost a lot in gas terms, so you really won't get too many out. I think that'd be a good idea, but that's my input.
Interesting.
So that's me.
Interesting.
There's somebody in Korea that just wrote down everything that Robin said, and mind blown right now. Like, you're gonna see this new Korean metagame come out where Lings are like, yeah, you know what? They're cheap and we can use them all over the map for Vision too.
You
Oh
say
my
8
gosh,
Lings,
it's
you
your
see
problem
everything.
solved. Early scouting, done.
You can't get into his base and see what he's doing, but you know he hasn't taken that third at 5 minutes.
Well, yeah, but I'm like the Legends on Zeldaga. Like the Legends on Zeldaga, you have a Link literally running back and forth there, having over in the top right corner. You have the whole base surrounded with vision. If a Banshee comes out, they're not going to close the Banshee leaving.
But if
You
you,
have
don't
information
have the
to
Evo
be
chamber
ready.
by the time the Banshee leaves the base...
That's extra time, though. It really... Zerg is all about just
Don't
holding off
crush
as much
this
as you
moment, Nursey. Don't you crush it. I'm telling you. I'm with you, Robin. I
We
agree.
can't. Hey, there's different forms of logic in this conversation. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to.
I don't
Just
know.
go
I don't
over.
think it's as bad as everyone makes it.
Protoss!
Protoss. Protoss.
Uh,
Protoss.
You know
I like
what,
that
man?
transition.
I have actually impeached In Control as the Protoss president earlier in an interview, and I told him, I said, we're in need of one. Don't make me step up because I'll be too BM about it. I'll make Idra look like a kitty cat when it comes. What does Protoss need? What don't they need? What Protoss needs a harass unit. That's what Protoss needs. Once Protoss gets a viable harass unit, I mean, I've
Prism
got
seriously is good
They're a
now.
little bit good.
yeah, because we're really good at shooting things. Prisms are great at shooting things, and if you warp into a Terran base, that's going to go really well for you.
If you only had a mid-game unit that was cloaked, oh wait,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you know what? But wait a second. Scans are just so. And wait, I made
I'm too busy
$8
dropping mules. So yeah, but that's true.
Everyone,
I mean-
everyone thinks in terms of, oh my god, I lost my unit. Do a scan. That sucks really badly. But what you've done is you effectively have cut into their economy and not allowing a mule.
Watch Virus versus Huck in Code S, the player he picked in the selections, and Virus went all Marine Marauder off one base for 35 minutes, and did not have to build a Raven. Did not have to build a Raven against DT. And the DTs are literally going through, and Marines like, what is going on? We're all dying. Just keep going? Okay, we're just going to keep going. Shouldn't we be able to... Nope, no Raven from the boss. We're just going to keep pushing straight through, and we won the game. So I think you should have to build, like, Protoss needs some sort of, in all seriousness, some sort of viable harass. And I hate to go back to it. Might have been, everybody says let the game develop. I'm not even going to say it because it's going to bring in a whole balanced discussion, but maybe they should have left KA in for a
I'm
little
not
longer.
gonna say it. And he says it.
Just for a little longer.
I
I'm saying
miss it.
everybody else said, oh, let's wait and see how the game develops. Let's wait and see how the game develops. And nobody in this chat can deny that there were some great GSL games back when that was in, because it made it so the game wasn't over.
It was
I
gross.
mean, San Zenith made some great games happen, and he did. It
Absolutely.
wasn't like, did we ever see 20 Protoss in GSL because of KA?
No.
Just saying. I'll end it on that. Harass unit. We need a harass unit.
Right on.
Calduran Amulet, right? People are asking when the chat K is.
Yeah.
Calduran
Oh.
Amulet. It gave you 70 plus energy, right? When you warp
Yeah,
in
yeah,
a
it
high
makes
Templar. So you had an auto storm. You didn't have to
Right.
make them early.
And I'm not saying, you know what, if you're going to tweak something, don't take it out. Like, reduce the energy, right? Because you don't have to obviously have it warp in.
But it balances out now, you have to realize, when they remove KA. Because of the warp mechanic only taking 5 seconds, with how fast a Templar builds, you get stormed just as fast as a guy who can't even move their damn infestor because it's in an egg sitting in a shell at a hatchery waiting to pop out.
Yeah, but you can't.
But you have that Templar.
You cannot consistently reinforce like with Templar. You get one warp in, and then you've got to wait for a cooldown. And if you're losing to one Templar, then I think we can point to another factor in the game where you went wrong. I don't think they gave enough time.
At the
But the
same
time's
point,
out the same now.
No, at the same point, or at the same time too, though, an infestor in an egg is completely protected. Well, not completely, but almost 100% protected from taking any damage.
10 armor
But
for the win.
But a warped-in Templar can be killed. I'm not saying that's like a reason Kite-Aaron Amulet should be back in the game, but
That's what
The
Zerg
warp
needs.
prisms,
They just need
100
eggs.
extra, 100 extra shield. Stick them in the warp prism.
It's strong, man.
That's too difficult,
We're good
man.
now.
I want a Marauder.
much
I just want a
micro
Marauder.
here.
I just want a Marauder.
28
What
PM.
did people do with like slow freaking Reavers and HTs back in Brood where
No.
they stuck them in a shuttle
Threw 'em in the
so they can
shuttles.
keep up with the army
I think
and not
no-
die?
I was just saying like a Templar that's like physically being warped in on the field can like just be instantly killed. Yeah.
Well, you can also warp it in pretty much anywhere on the field.
Yeah, no,
Getting it killed.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand.
Let me warp it right in front of his Thor. That's it's not gonna do anything.
Oh man, how'd that die? This game is broken.
That's true. That's true. All right. Okay. So harass unit. I can understand that. I can dig it.
I kind of agree with Tumba. I think Protoss is actually a pretty complete race, to be honest. Like, the only thing I think they could possibly add is, like, some sort of raiding unit. Like, something almost like a Hellion. Not, like, by design, but, like, just in the role that it fills, like some
Like
sort of
something that could
rating.
like blink up a cliff.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
you can't one shot the entire.
That's a commitment. Like, you have to-
everything around it.
You only got a couple seconds to see if that decision was good or not. So,
Well, I mean,
all right,
The stalkers
Galen,
don't-
floor is Galen's. Go ahead.
stalkers can't really kill workers very quickly. I mean, it takes like 5 shots to kill a worker, I think, with a stalker. But I mean, that's the only thing I could see them really potentially adding to Protoss. I think everything else about Protoss is actually great. Like their harassment late game is actually just unbelievable. Like Psystorm drops are just incredible, and like being able to warp in 10 DTs into somebody's base, things like that are really, really strong late game. So like some sort of mid-game rating unit I think would be cool, but other than that, I'm actually just really happy with
I
the
wouldn't
way
mind
Protoss
seeing
is.
Protoss get like the Reaver back.
But don't
Honestly.
you?
I don't know.
But you're saying that the
But it'd
void.
have to be a weaker version because of the Colossus. It couldn't be
That-
the way
would-
it was before.
Would you say that the
Something
void
like that,
ray,
though.
the void ray, since its nerf has not been as good of a harassment
Why'd
unit?
you
is-
have to go there, Clutch? Of course it's not. I mean, that was
Well-
the ridiculous. The flux veins were also ridiculous. Now you're going to get me on a rant here. Get my soapbox out.
Go do it.
They
Do it.
took
Default
flux.
speed is higher
They,
though than it
they
was.
took. I don't care. They took the flux veins out because of every single Protoss upgrade has to do with speed in some regard. If you take a look at it, blink even included,
Because they warp. They're not used to walking. They're used to
get
warping.
it, but everything, charge lots, everything's a speed upgrade. And the one that was actually viable and needed was for the Void Ray, and they took it out due to, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I do believe they took that out because it was imbalanced in 2v2s. I don't think they should be trying to balance
I
off
agree with
2v2.
that.
Well,
I'm sorry, bring it back in, use it as a harass unit. 3 Marines, 3 can take that blue light in the face and say, haha, good joke, LOL, you're dead.
It's all
You're
about
dead.
that. It's all about that stim, man. They can do a lot of things on drugs. So
Just saying.
Drugs are good
I don't
apparently.
know. I agree. They definitely shouldn't balance for teams. Flux veins.
yeah,
They were doing some stuff.
Plus, partially why
Those
they
Void
nerfed the Reaper in the first place for Terran was because of 2v2.
Yeah.
Like, Ling
Well-
Reaper was unbeatable.
well,
I mean, so was like 5-Rex Reaper.
yeah,
I
but
think it's really-
Yeah, don't get me wrong, 5-Rex Reaper was a little ridiculous, but that might have gotten figured out, who knows.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I can agree with you on those flux veins, man. But about everything else you said, I think you're right. It would be nice to see something a little harassy, though.
I wouldn't mind seeing them add something that adds a harass factor.
all right. Well, I
You
can
have to
I
be
can
careful what it is, though.
I can agree
That's
with
always
you
the
there.
tough part.
But as long as the silhouetted unit that I'm getting can auto repair any buildings around it, then it can definitely counter the Protoss harass.
The mech medic.
Yeah, the mech
Well-
medic. I think it's that Egon
Don't worry,
guy.
tank, I've got you.
Josh, can I jump in for one more point
Go
about
ahead.
Protoss?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I honestly think that the warp gate mechanic will either be completely retooled in some way or outright removed before StarCraft StarCraft 2 is completely done. I think that's a mechanic that makes Protoss really, really hard to balance because of the aggressive options you get from forward pylons. It's really hard to make gateway units not strong enough to make those attacks too strong, but at the same time making them not too weak. I mean, I think it's just really hard to balance the gateway. That combined with like force field and like how effective force field is, I think it's just really hard to balance the gateway for Protoss the way it is right now with the warp gate mechanic.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you. Warp gate technology is the vein of Protoss. It's easy. I mean, if you're wanting to deny it, it's simple scouting to find a warp pylon or that probe running around. It's easy to stop. You can't take away
Yeah, but
their
I'm
main
gonna
mechanic.
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, Robin, which I never do. But I'm a nerd, and I stay up till 7 a.m. some nights talking about this with the guys like Dark and everybody, and some pros, and we really get into this, and everybody has echoed the same sentiment that Warp Gate is really the core fundamental issue with why Protoss is having the problem. Because, like Galen said, it's hard to give them strong units, and let's face it, the units aren't cheap. Protoss is very ast heavy as well, and it's hard to get, like, where do you draw the line? Because if I can warp in these stellar units, then how are you possibly going to stop? I mean, think about it this way, Robin. Even in the one patch they did where they gave gateway units quicker build times, they had to take that out because it was just too hard to stop. And that's just with faster build times off those units. So if you buff the unit itself and give it the ability to forward warp in, it's going to be very hard to...
It does hurt. It hurts.
That's why they're
that
so
they have to
expensive,
balance them with the fact that they could warp them in next to somebody's base in mind. They do that. You can't say they don't. I mean,
Yeah,
it is
they do,
obvious that because of the way the warp gate mechanic works, obviously they do have to balance with that in mind, because if a unit is overbuffed and it does not have to travel a distance to get to the opponent, obviously it could be problematic for balance. So they do have to keep that in mind, and that potentially could lead to some of the reason why the Protoss units are sometimes weaker in some instances, especially from a defensive posturing standpoint. But I mean, like, they do try to make up for that with, like, Sentry. I mean, that was pretty much, in my opinion, the whole point the Sentry made it into the game was because without Sentries and force fields, there would be no way to be defensive but still be offensive with the way the warp gate mechanic works. So I think it'd be difficult for them just to remove warp gate and then just buff gateway units because of the way the Sentry works, and that could inherently make the Sentry too powerful. So they'd have to do like a ton of tweaking with Sentries and then tweak all the units and then get so I don't see them ever doing that. I don't think they'll get rid of warp gate. I think they'll maybe try and give Protoss maybe something more along the harassment end or something like that, so that you can at least delay your opponent in some way or whatnot. But I don't think they're going to just fundamentally change everything without having it really well thought out, and I don't see that happening anytime soon.
But think about it, Nurse. Like you said, though, what effectively Gateway Warping has done is locked down the options of Protoss severely, and everything has to be thought out around that mechanic. And part of the problem is, I can illustrate it for you. Against Zerg, what is the one opening Protoss? We have one opening. Forge Fast Expand. That's all they have. They Forge Fast Expand on any map where you can do it, and that's just a limitation in and of itself. And it all comes back to that mechanic, and it's just been something that's been talked about.
To proxy gate.
Effectively, though, I mean,
they need to fix something with Protoss to make it, a little more solid. I'm not going to disagree. Warp gate might play into some of the reason why they don't do that. Because I mean, obviously Protoss has been struggling a lot, but the question is, what do you really do without making it too strong? And that's where they always get stuck. Yeah. And that's the sad kind of part of where the game's at is. It's like they want to buff stuff and make them better, so like they give the Immortal an extra range or something like that. It's like I think they're trying to do it in little increments so that they don't overdo it.
It's really hard. Just I think what Warp Gate mechanic does especially is it forces Protoss units out of or Gateway units at least to be kind of inefficient in small numbers, with the exception of like with force field helping out there. So it's a little bit harder to do like tech builds without investing in a whole lot of sentries. But at the same time, like, huge gateway timing attacks are pretty strong. Like, I don't know. I just think Protoss is in a weird spot because of Warp Gate.
Yeah, but remember, gentlemen, that we still only have a third of the game. I mean, Wings of Liberty obviously was shown that maybe Terran was more polished than the other races. So hopefully with Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void, the kind of changes that need to be made will be made. But, that comes down to, like, I could argue that Terran's, like, if I don't have a strong bio build at the beginning against Protoss, like, I can't tech into Terran. I can't tech up into, like, tanks. I can get
well, you don't need to tech up into anything.
Well, I know, but I think but it's like it's Medivacs and then serious harassment and EMP. So I have to get locked into having a proper bio build and making sure he doesn't out expand me. So the idea of Protoss being locked into the warp mechanic is like, that's the strength of your race, though. That's what the race
really
is built on.
No, I understand that. I don't do. Think, but
just like Terran, the strength is stim. I mean, really, at the beginning. So if I don't use that kind of mechanic that's strong for my race, I'm not going to be a viable player in the game.
I think the thing to keep in mind, though, that a lot of people lose sight of, just because, like, we live in a day and age where everybody wants their stuff now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, Brood War took, StarCraft Vanilla, Brood War coming out, and then years after Brood War came out, to get that game to a point where everything was actually the way it should be, for the most part. And then they even went past that, tweaking with maps and stuff to finish whatever Blizzard didn't get done with it. So, like, people get really impatient about that. I mean, we still have 2 more expansions where they're going to probably add, remove units, fart around with mechanics and stuff to try and get the game the way that they want it to be. And, like, for everybody to go, oh, my race is crap, fix it now, like, and expect it to get fixed now, I think is a little unrealistic. Yes, you want them to try. You don't want them to see them do nothing. But, I mean, unless they're going to just throw changes out willy-nilly where they don't know if they're actually fixing anything or not. People have to be a little more patient than I think they are to an extent. And that's part of the problem is people don't let metagame necessarily develop before they say something's broken. The second something happens, you know, they're like, oh, instantly it's broken because somebody came up with a strategy that just crushed a tar out of me.
Yeah,
I don't want to think about how to beat it.
SE2 forums, every single GSL winner was OP. Every single one. When MC came out, and I knew at the time, I was like, man, Protoss should be getting crushed. I don't understand. I'm not saying Protoss was underpowered. I was just thinking, like, I'm not sure. It shouldn't have been that easy against July Zerg, in my mind. July didn't really have a great showing in that finals. MC making Zealots dance, putting down Manor Nexuses. It was getting a little out of control. But if you look at the SE2 forums the next day, nerf force field, force field OP. If you took force field out of the game, man, Protoss would be dead. So I think you're right.
It's like that every GSL.
Yeah,
as soon as somebody wins,
people need
that
patience.
race must be over.
Yeah.
Well, like Clutch said.
And it's another kudos to Blizzard, man, because if they were listening to every whim of every person that played this freaking game,
the game would be ridiculous.
It would change every 5 minutes, man. And so again,
people need to be patient.
This is the double-edged sword of the internet. Is it's easy and accessible, but you're anonymous. And so these people that post all this stuff, you know, are posting it knowing that nobody's going to trace it and track them down, and beat the crap out of them for posting that, you know, Stim is OP and whatnot. I'm sick of that Stim's OP. Remove Stim. If there's
but with
any matchup right now in this game is winnable. Whether or not it's balanced or not, it's winnable.
Absolutely.
And that's one good thing is that any matchup is potentially winnable. I'm not saying that everything in the game is necessarily 100% balanced or not. I'm just saying it's at least winnable, and you don't want them to make crazy changes that ever make any matchup unwinnable, because that would be really a bad situation for the game to be in. So at least everything is winnable right now. And so far, for the most part, most of the changes Blizzard has slowly made has only improved the overall numbers and gameplay. I mean, if you look at statistics and stuff, for the most part, they've been getting everything closer over time. So they're definitely not going in a totally wrong direction. Now, everybody might not be happy yet, but, I mean, the game's been out for a little over a year, and you're expecting them to have, like, the balance that they had with, like, 10 years of Brood War. And it's like, it's not going to happen in a year. You can't do it. It's just... Unless you basically ported Brood War over and left the game exactly the same with pretty new graphics, there's no way that you can actually achieve that kind of instant balance just like that.
Exactly. It's an evolving system. But the system works. Like, that's the beauty about it, is the system does work. These are just small tweaks that need to happen. If it didn't work, then nobody'd play the game. We wouldn't have these tournaments because we would know that one race was one-sided. So, as far as predictions go of what's going to happen with the expansions, like, yeah, Brood War, if you look at the test of time it took for that game to become completely balanced. I mean, do you guys remember how slow dropships were for Terran? They were terrible. It took forever to get across the map when that game first came out.
Remember how much a spawning pool cost?
$150.
Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, there is still that room for growth and that evolution of the game. But what is really exciting is when I was at MLG Anaheim and I got to talk to Dustin Browder and talk to David Kim, and they were asking me, or David Kim was asking me questions about the ladder system and stuff like that, is that they're still emotionally and physically and financially invested in the game so that it succeeds in an esports realm. I mean, Blizzard has really been a champion for esports. And so, you know, hopefully we do see these changes that we want to see, but if we got everything that we wanted, we wouldn't have this great game, and we wouldn't have these great tournaments. We have to, that patience is such a key thing to have as gamers, especially when you're on ladder and you lose. I mean, there are many times when I'll lose on ladder and I want to smash my keyboard and say Zerg OP or Protoss OP, but I understand, like, no, I suck. That's like the hardest thing that you have to realize is like, no, it's my fault. I need to get better and go from there.
Well, and that's a better way to always think about it. Like, no matter whether the game's balanced or not, you always have to think of it from a standpoint of, well, maybe there is something wrong with the game, but if you take the standpoint of, well, the game's broken, I give up, you're never going to get anywhere. So you have to always look at it from the standpoint of, until I play perfect, I don't need to worry about balancing the game. You know, if there's something I can work on personally that I need to fix, you know, like I don't hit an injection perfectly on time. I don't get my base up at X point perfectly at time. I don't remember to get my creep tumors down at X time and Y time. I don't have my overlord in the exact right spot for scouting so I can spot those drops that are going to come and stuff. Like, if you're not playing perfectly, worrying about balance is kind of a waste of your time. like if you want to discuss with your friends, whatever, knock your socks off. But
Yeah.
if you're going to make that the focus of your day is, this race is broken, I can't win, you'll never figure it out and you'll never improve. I mean, anybody who's not like a GSL Code-S winner right now is not on a skill level that they can't fix something, that they can't improve. And even a guy like Nesty or something like that would probably pick out something he could improve on that he's not doing perfectly. So until you're like playing at a level where you're like a Flash or a Jadong from Brood War where you just like win constantly, there's no point in even worrying about balance as the main focus of what you do. And it seems like with StarCraft 2, everybody just wants to talk about balance and not worry about whether or not they're playing the game right. They're just like, well, I can't win. The game's broken.
It's a cop-out, man. It's a cop-out.
It is.
Well, it's unfortunate. And the beauty about, esports compared to other sports like baseball or football is, I mean, I played baseball. I played football in high school, but I didn't continue on in that career because I had different goals. When it comes to esports, you can watch StarCraft 2, and then I can jump on my computer and play StarCraft 2. And I can play in a mindset and in a situation to where it's an actual competition on the ladder system. And a lot of people get really passionate about that, and they get really passionate about them losing. And so a lot of that rage is fueled by that, I'm participating in something that is at a pro level, even though I'm not a pro, but it must be broken because I'm not good at it. It's like, dude, you don't play this game for 8 hours straight or 16 hours straight. Some of these pro players do. You don't understand all the mechanics of the game yet because, you're still in silver or bronze and you haven't seen the upper echelon strategy. But that's where it seems a lot of the rage and trolling is coming from, are these people that are down lower. And it's nice that Blizzard takes it, with a grain of salt. But at the same time, they do want to make an experience good, not just for players, but for everybody across the board, either gold, silver, or all the way up to masters. So I feel that's really important for the success of the game and for the success of the expansions. Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be a fun game to play, but let's face it, too. Those patch notes come out. I'm not going to lie. I get right into them, man, because it's fun to talk about with your friends, whether you think it's going to be imbalanced or not. I mean, I saw that 5-second nerf, and my buddy Simpatico, oh, my God, you thought the world ended. Like,
that was me, man. That was me. I know.
This is crazy. And
my God.
I'm like, hey, PS is going to throw off your orbital command, too. What? Oh, I'll never win another game, and the sky's falling. I'm leaving. And moving
uninstall, right there.
I'm uninstalling. So, but that's part of the fun of StarCraft. Let's face it; these balanced discussions have become this sort of thing to do, and even on Team Liquid, which has been staunch really against any type of balanced discussion. You've seen it sort of creep in there a little bit more too. It's an entertaining factor as well.
Yeah,
and I don't mind listening to a well thought out discussion with like some high level players or something like that about balance or something like that. If they want to get like 20 of the best players in the world together and sit down with Blizzard and like really just discuss balance with each other and have Blizzard take notes and then maybe go to the drawing board with that, that's fine. But if you're Joe Schmo sitting in your couch and you're like mid masters down, if you think that you deciding that, well, I have decided that this is broken because of X, Y, Z, and no matter how well thought out the argument is, you're not playing on that level. Like, go play on that level and then worry about it. Like, I just think personally, you're wasting a lot of your own time by worrying about it. Like, there's some people who really, like, you can see, like, they get on the forum and they got, like, this 10-page essay on why they think this is broken. And it's like, with all the amount of time it took you to write this essay, you could have probably gone and practiced, and I see you're like in platinum or diamond or whatever, and you probably could have made masters by the time you got done writing that if you would have just been practicing instead. And that's the only area where I think that's like, something might be busting the game. The Blizzard's regularly patching the game. It's still relatively new. People are always coming up with new strategies. When stuff has been apparently seemingly too strong, they have nerfed it. I mean, like Infestors in this last patch. It took them a while to nerf them, but they eventually ended up nerfing Infestors because they thought that Infestor Broodlord was too strong. Now, whether or not it was an over-nerf or an under-nerf, people can debate that till the cows come home. But the fact is that they will eventually address the issue if they think it's bad, but people are very impatient about it. They want it yesterday, and Blizzard's obviously not going to react and make snap judgments like that. So people have to be a little more patient with the game. And I honestly don't think you will ever have this game anywhere near 100% balanced in reality until you get to Legacy of the Void, like
Probably like a year after Legacy.
3 years after Legacy of the Void, before like the maps are right and the game is as close to right as it's going to get, and everything feels pretty balanced.
Yeah.
The
Like,
day
it's gonna
after
be
that,
way down the road.
StarCraft 3 beta starts the day after that. The day after, and the whole balance thing starts over again. So,
But when
you
it
have
comes-
1 day of balance.
When it comes down to opinion, I would trust a pro player's opinion over anybody else's because they're the ones that are in the thick of it, man, and they're the ones that understand the race the best and the race matchups. And I don't hear them crying all the time about balance issues. Sometimes I will hear, arguments from them, but not.
Well, it is, to be fair, it's trending that way, and it's unfortunate, I think, because it's like nurses. I mean, you hear like MC said, if I played Terran, I would have won 5 championships. That's an easy editorial comment to make, right?
Yeah.
Then like Naniwa, if I had it to do over again, I would have picked Terran. Like, you're starting to hear this stuff, and truthfully, I think that's a little bit unfortunate because it's like innovate. You know what I mean? For all the QQing that the Zerg were nailed down for, they innovated. Blaming bombs and no parasite, false nidus, all the stuff that we see coming out and working from Zerg. Zerg innovated their styles, so I don't want to hear any more of this. Show me something, get behind players like White Raw that innovate and have been using Warp Prism since before the buff, stuff like that.
If you're feeling down, just listen to White Row, dude. I mean, he's a great motivational player. It's awesome. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, MLG predictions, and then we're going to wrap up the show. Stay tuned.
Such volatility out of the chat.
Well, there's been some trolls in the
All
chat.
right.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Troll Talks. I know there's trolls everywhere. It just seems like they're multiplying. I don't know what it is. It's like they need
Everyone's
to go to
got an
manners.
opinion.
Everybody loves to share that opinion as well. It seems. All right, gentlemen, we're going to start to wrap it up here. But first, MLG predictions. Thumba, starting with you.
I'm going to say I'm going with my heart, which I usually don't do. So these are going to be boring picks. I got 2. I'm going to say either going to be Boxer, because that's the one I want to see win it. SC2 championship at MLG would be awesome. Or MC. Sorry, foreigners. One of those two, because MC really
What's your
wants to
dark
get
horse
back to
pick?
us.
Everybody should give a dark horse.
Yeah, what's your dark horse?
I could say In Control as a troll, because I love the guy. But I'm not. Dark horse, and I'll pick a foreigner too, and I'll also pick a Protoss. Kiwikaki.
Wow. Okay. Nursky.
I'd say most likely to win. Bomber is going to be really difficult to beat. I mean, the guy's just so strong. Past Bomber, if I was going to pick another one, and I'd say a potential foreign hope, a lot of people would stray towards Idra, and I'd like to see him do well, but he's kind of volatile. I'd say Huck's been pretty solid, so I'd say probably Bomber or MC is probably the most likely. And then if I had to pick a dark horse who could maybe finally pull everything together, I'm going to go with Rhett.
Rhett. Okay. Omerta.
Yeah, I don't see Bomber losing this tournament. I just don't think anyone coming is at his skill level. But my dark horse pick's not going to be a foreigner. I'm going to pick Marine King coming out of the open bracket, being sort of like the dark horse coming out of the open.
Solid.
Right on. Wiggin?
I think my favorite is going to be either Bomber or MC. And I think Bomber's going to take it unless MC just comes out with something crazy. And can win a lot of games with it. My dark horse, I'm going to go with the Muslim.
Oh,
I think he can do some stuff.
So good.
I like that one. That's good, yeah.
right
He's been
on.
practicing a lot. I watch his stream.
He can make Marauders.
That's really good. He can make a lot of Marauders. The Blue Flame Hellion nerf helps his TVT.
Yep.
And that was, I think, his weakest matchup before. So I think he can take some games.
Cool. Cool. We shall see. Robin.
You guys have already said both of them. Idra and the Muslim, both guys that I love. My favorite team, EG, Evil Geniuses, for the win all day, every day for me. And I really think one of them players has the potential. Idra, of course, not doing so well in the current tournament, but last week did really well. The Muslim, always been great. And then, of course, Marine King Prime. Reddit is paying for him to come here. He's coming here to impress. He made even a little video like, thanks, guys. I love you. I appreciate it. He's going to show up, and he's going to do work, ladies and gentlemen. He's working really, really hard. I'm telling you, this guy is amazing. Ranking Prime. Got to give him a heart, and I really think he's going to do really well. So I'm going to call for him.
Okay. Ryan?
I think as far as who's going to take the entire tournament, I'm going to say Bomber.
Okay.
I know that's the popular opinion. As far as a foreigner, what foreigner do I think will go the furthest? I'm going to go with Huck on that one. And then out of the open bracket, I think I'm going to take MKP.
MKP.
I love Marines, man.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Good unit to love.
Yes. Great for every situation. Feels. Okay, for mine, Bomber, and then MC, and then Dark Horse. I'm gonna believe in him, man. Idra. I think maybe if he gets a proper rest and has some sort of angelic visitor tonight.
They're gonna give him one of those like beauty rest eye patch deals so that he can just like
something, man. I feel that there's something brewing. Like there's some sort of Rocky in him that can just defeat that Apollo Creed of Korea. Hopefully it'll happen. It'll happen. All right, gentlemen, wrapping up the show here. It has been a blast to have each of you on, and I'm so looking forward to MLG Orlando. It's going to be such a blast. I wanted to give a quick little mention to IPL, and IPL, you know, has had its struggles today. We at MLG, we know the type of technical difficulties that can happen at a tournament. But in esports in general, we want esports to thrive. And we really appreciate all the fans out there that stick through the hard times of not being able to watch the stream or not being able to see content right away. And those are the true fans of esports, you know. You have people that jump on bandwagons and are ready to have a lot of fun, but then when the going gets tough, they jump off and turn into the biggest trolls out there. So kudos to those of you that continually support esports, and we here at MLG really appreciate it. As you've seen, you know, the incredible improvements we've made here at MLG, and it's just going to get better and better and better. But as far for IPL, you know, our hearts go out to you guys. We're really sorry that truck hit that pole.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's good guy Sundance, though, tweeting saying, hey, if you need some numbers, give me a call.
Yeah, I mean,
Class act.
That's
And classy. Stay classy.
yeah, definitely.
yeah. Even though they may be competition, you know, we want esports to thrive, and we're glad that some of it's been fixed, or at least all of it's been fixed. So we're gonna go through down the line. Shout outs, starting with you, Wiggin, or final comments as well.
Just one final thing on IPL, man. It's really hard to run a live event. I'm sure they'll improve. They've got great backing. Their stream was great when it was up, so, you know, good luck to them. For shout-outs, I list all my sponsors. No, follow me on Twitter, MLG_Wiggin. I'll be streaming a lot on Team Liquid soon, very soon. If you like Terran play, which none of you probably do in the chat, likes Terran play. But I go Mac. I don't go bio or anything. Fun stuff like that.
Admit it, you're there for the beard.
That's why I watch.
I'd like to say I'm here because I'm, you know, like an expert at something, or like I'm very entertaining. But no, it's just the beard. That's really so yeah, follow me on Twitter. Thanks for watching, everyone. And that's really it, man.
Right on.
Thanks to UMLG for letting me come on here.
Yeah. Robin?
Yeah, a big shout out to everyone in the MLG community. The forums, great. I'm really excited for Orlando. I'm excited to cast it, and I can't wait. Next week, you guys will be seeing us on those beta streams. Make sure to get those memberships, and of course, you can follow me on the Twitter below. Close to 100, so I almost feel famous. But that's it for me, guys. Thanks for coming out, and of course, thanks to Clutch for letting me be on the show.
Oh, you're most welcome. Ryan Moore.
Yes, Josh, great. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm not going to say follow me on Twitter, but If you check right below my screen, it's right there. I just hope to see a lot of people out at MLG Orlando. It's coming up in about 2 weeks, so hopefully we don't have any internet problems.
It's next week, man. It's next week.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yes, very soon. But yeah, that's it.
Alrighty. Yeah, hopefully we won't have any issues. I don't know of any hurricanes coming in Florida at that time. So, Galen, Omerta.
Yeah, man, shout out to my brand new webcam for freezing on a frame that wasn't too horrific. I think I'll make it out of here all right. All you guys watching, if you want to follow me, MLG_Omerta is my Twitter, but I also do all the live reporting at the MLG events. It's at MLG SC2 scores, so I keep you guys updated on all the open bracket stuff that's going on there, and some of the pool play that's not on the stream as well. I think that's about it for me.
Right on. Nursky?
You guys can follow me at VP Nursky. Also, you can check out my YouTube stuff at youtube.com/NurskySC. Have to give a shout out to VP Gamers, the team that I play with a lot and do some administrating for. Also, modsonline.com I do casting for, StimTV, Playhem, and of course, going to MLG, which is going to be absolutely awesome. And I cannot wait to be bringing just more StarCraft 2 games to everybody because, nobody can have too much StarCraft 2 content, in my opinion.
Nope. As long as they get enough sleep, they'll be good to go. And they eat. It's important, too. Tumba?
Yeah, man. Thanks, of course, to you, Clutch, for inviting me on the show for the shot at casting at MLG. Of course, Wiggin, all the guys, Omerta, Ryan. It's great to meet you. Can't wait to meet you guys at Orlando. So looking forward to this. I have to give shouts out, though, because this opportunity wasn't based solely on myself. I had a great team helping me the entire time at StimTV. Of course, Simpatico, Newbie. Rather than plug myself, I want to plug these guys because they are the best, and they give so much of their time to esports, Sleeper Cells, and Dark and Light. Mo, if I missed anybody, I'm so sorry. Vorap, I can't go through the entire list, but, I cannot wait for Orlando, man. It's going to be good times, and we are all going to do our best to entertain the heck out of everybody. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Having you three gentlemen be three of our four casters for the new streams, the 2 new streams on the MLG website that'll be live during the event. It's going to be a lot of fun for our silver and gold members. So please get your membership, check out these amazing casters, and you're going to enjoy such an amazing tournament coming up next weekend. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another excellent episode of Shifting Gears. I'm your host, Clutch. We're here, we talk about everything about gaming, and tonight we had an excellent forum about StarCraft 2. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. Next week, we'll not be having an episode because obviously it's MLG, and the following week, I will be too busy playing Diablo 3 at BlizzCon and maybe some Heart of the Swarm. I'm sure the other guys here will be jealous, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks for tuning in.
Sir.
You can follow me on Twitter at Clutch08. We'll see you next time.